So I checked out. I didn't know which eye it was. So
That's
that
okay.
had to affect them. No. Anyway, I got away from it because I was scared of it. It started at 9. It's gone to 9.5. I went to a service academy. I went to Army.
Oh, you can't go wrong there, Coach.
And the number. Hey, you're good at this. You better at this than I am. I hear you all the time. I think the Booger Bear is 16 points or something. But East East Carolina can't guard their mother. I mean they're terrible. And whether they're going to be that most of the time, if you're bad defensively, you don't improve very much against the academies. And here's the reason why: they are so good at being sound in what they do. They don't turn the football over.
Disciplined.
They don't care. They don't care what you run defensively. They know what they want to do, and they're going to knock you out of the way. They are not one of these that's going to do like I said I did, change stuff. They're going to play just the way they want to play. East Carolina is probably going to try to, maybe better than they have been defensively, but I don't believe that's. I believe Army will win that one. So I passed on BYU and took Army.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you a stat to make you feel good about that Army pick. You want a good stat?
I need something.
You want a good stat? Army.
Yeah, give it to me.
Army has not trailed 1 second of the entire football season. Not one.
I don't have a jinx. I hope it's not a jinx.
I was trying to give you something to go away feeling really good
He's
about.
setting you up, Coach. You know what's happening.
I was not setting him up.
I hope that's good. Yeah, I think that's good. Army's good. Navy's good too.
Navy's very good. I mean, listen, Landrum was on the sidelines last week, Coach, for UAB football. They played Army, and of course, Landrum has seen Navy and Army both up close and personal. And Landrum's already calling it. He thinks that both of those academies will knock off Notre Dame this year because Notre Dame's got them both on their schedule. They're very, very well sound football teams, like you just pointed out.
They could be in the final. They could be in the final 12. I don't know how the final will be. Talking about that as we go along, week number 8 here, but it should be great.
Let's talk about David Upton, one of the great people in our community, and what he does with Crane Works has been incredible.
Well, David Upton has taken Crane Works and moved it to another level, 2.5 tons and 500 tons, located in Huntsville and Birmingham and throughout the Southeast, and they'll come in and do exactly what needs to be done. They've got the operators that handle all of the equipment that they have. They do a great job. I'll talk about rental works as well. David, I can't tell you what he has done for that company and how that company has been so successful. Just look at them through the year. Get on craneworks.com.
Yep.
And you'll get a better ad than I can give you. I appreciate you guys having me on for Crane Works. Appreciate you. Your questions were great. My answers weren't too good.
No, they're fantastic. Hey, Coach, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That is Coach Wimp Sanderson joining us on the Buyers Ride Hotline right here on a Football Friday on Jocks 94.5. Coming up at the top of the hour, Mike Rodak from Bama 247. He's going to join the program. Get his thoughts on the third Saturday in October. What Alabama needs to do to win another game in the SEC as all of a sudden this schedule gets a lot more difficult. The GMC text line, the courtesy GMC text line, is open at 205-834-9450 on this Football Friday, Conrad. And I know I can see your monitor, and they are coming in fast and furious.
Absolutely. We appreciate all of you texting in throughout the show each and every day. We have a texter. Great Wimp Sanderson segment today. He's still bringing it. Is the Blue Plate Special undefeated this year? Unfortunately, is not.
No, he got out of the gate a little slow, but
yes,
he has caught fire the last couple weeks.
Absolutely. And as he mentioned, yes, he did hit last week with BYU over Arizona. We have another text coming in. We love Wimp. He's the best.
He is the best.
I just like that text, the last text previous to the one they just sent in was from 6 months ago, and it just says, what the heck is a waffle stomp?
We'll have to explain that in detail one day.
Yeah, one day. Maybe not now. Let's see. Jamie from Alex City says, concerning the Alabama-Tennessee game, my gut is saying to expect a game similar to 2022, but lower scoring. My heart says that Alabama wins by double digits, but my head says Bama 27, Vols 20.
Right now, you can go vote at the three-man front Twitter poll question of the day. We asked the question, what is your bold prediction for the Alabama-Tennessee game? Tide covers, field goal win, Vols win in a shootout, Tide double-digit win, or a Vol touchdown plus win. And as of right now, it's getting a little bit closer, getting a little bit tighter, but Tide double-digit win is still ahead at 33%, followed then by the Tide covers by only a field goal.
Crimson Convict weighing in. He says, Damian, we got some business the next time he sees you with your Tennessee gear. Today, Crimson Convict not happy about Damian's attire.
Why is everybody so mad?
It's a rough weekend coming up, man.
Kind of a big
hate.
game.
I see.
That one is too long for right now. Oh, we have another prediction coming in. Alabama 27-17. That's David from Pinson.
Okay.
And somebody texting in, is the Alabama basketball game on TV tonight? I don't know if it's on TV, but I know you can watch it on YouTube. If you go to Hibbett Sports, they're sponsoring the game, and you can watch it on their YouTube channel for free.
There you go. Coming up, we'll talk to Mike Rodak from Bama 247, get his thoughts. What needs to happen for Alabama to get victorious in K-Town? That's next. Welcome back. It's hour number 2 of Three Man Front on this Football Friday. Appreciate Wimp Sanderson. Joins us each and every Friday here on Three Man Front thanks to Crane Works. Gave us the Blue Plate special, which was this week Army. That was his Blue Plate. So enjoy that, and hopefully you can be a winner too.
Hard to go wrong with the service academies right now. They have been excellent to start off the season. Another thing that's always excellent is Train, because as we move further away from the hot weather, we know that your HVAC system has worked overtime all summer long, so make sure you're prepared for the months and years ahead with a Train comfort system. Right now, Train's Unstoppable event offers you peace of mind with a 10-year warranty on parts and labor with select Train home comfort systems. Go visit them at train.com and find out why we always say it's hard to stop a train.
I can't wait for this conversation. Mike Rodak joins us from Bama 247 to break down the third Saturday in October. Mike, it's been a very interesting week to say the least, because both Alabama and Tennessee coming off lackluster performances before they get into the big game tomorrow in Knoxville.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's it feels different than 2 years ago. I think I remember I was watching the open of that game this morning, actually, with the CBS Open. And they said that was the first time in like 30-something years that both teams have been undefeated, and there was just a lot of momentum going into that game, and this feels totally different. But I don't know if that will change the atmosphere or the environment, because it almost turns this into a playoff game. I don't think it's totally an elimination game. I've seen that out there this week. I think both teams would still have a path with 2 losses in the SEC to get to the playoff, but it does almost add to the stakes when both teams have a loss, have a bad loss, so to speak, and have not played well in the previous game as well. So I actually think the crowd will be just as into it. I think the feeling, the atmosphere, the environment will be just like it was 2 years ago, even though the circumstances going into the game are different.
So, Mike, I wanted to ask you about some information we got last night, that being that Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law are going to be good to go tomorrow up in Knoxville. Just kind of talk about how impactful you think the return of those two guys could be, because I go back to the Georgia game and what Kendrick Law was doing just from a blocking standpoint seemed to be so critical to how that offense performed that day. Now he's missed the last couple of weeks. So how big is getting him and Kobe Prentice back potentially for this team tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it probably helps them more in the running game, honestly, with Law than it does in the passing game. I can probably still count on one hand, maybe two hands, how many times that Kendrick Law has touched the ball this year, which is surprising, given what we thought he was going to be going into the year. But the blocking is there. And when you get into some of those design run situations, they do it a lot in the red zone. They've been successful at it even without Law, to be honest. But you have Milroe just take the ball and run to the outside. Like it seems simple sometimes. And as long as he gets some decent blocking, he's so hard to take down that those runs have worked really well. So, maybe that helps those situations. I mean, maybe there's a couple plays you can give him that you haven't really seen on film yet, partly because he's been out for a couple weeks. And maybe catch Tennessee, by surprise there. Prentice too, I think he's had a role here and there, but still, overall, I think this game is probably still a Ryan Williams game, a Jeremy Bernard game. They've gotten tight ends more involved. I don't know if the third and fourth receivers will have as big of an impact as your number one guy and the ability to get the ball down the field to Ryan Williams, because that's changed multiple games so far this season.
And Mike, I was wondering about the run game. Do you think that we'll see a little bit more balance, I guess you would say, with the offensive side of the ball for Alabama with Jamin Justice in the backfield?
I know it's kind of a desire that some people have. Like, they want to get Justice Haynes more involved. People want to see more of Jam Miller. And I just don't know if we're ever going to truly get to that point. I just don't know if they've been blocking well enough. Like when they've gotten the ball, their average does look good. Both players are up around 6 or 7 yards a carry. That Western Kentucky game, I think, helps a lot for some of those averages. And they just haven't, when they've gotten the ball, it hasn't always been successful. These 1, 2, 3 yard gains put you in longer second and third down situations, and you're probably not running the ball there. So, I just don't know if it's ever going to get there. I think you're still, the Jalen Milroe design runs are still going to cut into their carries. The game situations are still going to dictate how you're playing. And at the end of the day, I think Kalen DeBoer's offense still philosophically he wants to throw the ball. He was, one of the pass heaviest offenses last year at Washington. So I don't know if there will be more of a balance. I think it could help, but again, you have to effectively run the ball if you're going to run the ball more. And again, I just don't know if they've effectively run the ball enough this year.
Talking to Mike Rodak, Bama 247, joins us on the Buyers Right Hotline here on Three Man Front. Joins us every Friday. I wanted to ask you about Ryan Williams. Going into the fourth quarter against South Carolina, he had 4 targets. I'm not talking about 4 receptions, 4 targets. That number's got to be a lot more against this Tennessee team. What was the problem, do you think, the other day? Was it Milroe just missed him on some progressions, or South Carolina was just putting the clamps down on him and just was not giving him the opportunity to break free?
Combination. I mean, obviously their pass rush is South Carolina's strength, and there was, some plays there where Milroe was under pressure or sacked, and I think he did a good job though of getting the ball to his outlets. Like, I think the tight end usage the last couple of weeks has been good, not just to get the tight ends involved. Like, I don't know if that's important, but instead of forcing the ball to receivers that aren't open, or you don't have that play because you have a guy in your face, whatever the case may be, like, get it to the guy that you can get it to. And I think he's done a pretty good job of that. And sometimes that's meant Justice Haynes on an outlet. That's meant CJ Dupree. That's meant Josh Cuevas. There's Robbie Oots, I think, caught a pass recently. So, sometimes that happens. And that's the best course of action on that play in that situation is not throwing the ball to Ryan Williams. But like I said, I do think he's still an important part of this game. He's going to have to beat some coverage against a defense that's really good. The offensive line's going to have to protect against a really good defensive line again. And, one of the best pass rushers in the country in Pierce. So a lot of things need to happen. But I guess I'm not necessarily in the camp of, like, you got to force feed Ryan Williams the ball, because that could put Jalen Milroe in a tough spot with some of the mistakes that he's had recently too, where just get the ball to the person who's open. And if it's Robbie Oots, if it's Josh Cuevas, then whatever. If that's the best play in that situation, that's fine.
So, Mike, in looking over this game throughout the week, is there an area specifically for Alabama, whether maybe it's a singular position, maybe it's a position group, maybe it's an entire side of the ball, whatever it may be, where you see a significant advantage for Alabama going into this matchup with Tennessee?
I don't know if there's a significant advantage. I think the perceived advantage of Tennessee's passing game probably isn't as strong as one might think. I think everybody looks at, like, Tennessee, fast-paced, high-flying offense. Nico is a great quarterback, and everybody sees Alabama's secondary as a weakness. And I don't know if that is going to play out, not nearly to the extent that it did 2 years ago. I'd be surprised if it was that prolific from Tennessee. Like, that hasn't really been their strength. So I actually could see this being a decent game for Alabama's pass defense. I think I would be more concerned about their run defense against Dylan Sampson. I think the run defense overall this year has been shakier than it has been in years past. And then overall, too, I think the tougher matchup for Alabama might be their offense against Tennessee's defense. Like, Tennessee's defense is number 1 in the country in ESPN's efficiency stat. They're right up there, top 4 in yards allowed, points allowed. And that efficiency stat is adjusting for opponents too. So they're taking into account who they've played. Like, this is a really, really good Tennessee defense. And as good as Alabama's offense is, I don't know if Tennessee's defense gets enough credit in this matchup. And it's not just about their tempo on offense and what they're able to do there. To me, it's more about their defense and how their defense performs against Alabama.
All right, so as you look at this game and how it's going to play out, you've already made your prediction in print at Bama 247. I will let you tell our audience how you feel that this game is going to play out tomorrow afternoon in Knoxville.
Yeah, I picked Tennessee, I think by 5. I believe it was 28-23, I think is the score I had.
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I think I've seen there's a big enough sample size now with Alabama over the South Florida game, the last 2.5 quarters of the Georgia game, the Vanderbilt game, the South Carolina game, where there's enough questions going into a tough road environment. And as many questions as Tennessee has, given their Arkansas and Florida games, I would still lean towards the home team in this. I would lean towards, like I said, a defense that's ranked basically number 1 in the country. And that's I don't want to say it's just like the Rose Bowl last year, because obviously Michigan and Tennessee are two different teams, but I can see Tennessee's defense doing similar things and really making Jalen Miller uncomfortable like he was in the Rose Bowl last year, and like what some defenses have done, to him so far this season. So again, I think to me that matchup is bigger, Tennessee's defense versus Alabama's offense, than vice versa.
In regards to moving forward, and you just said it a few moments ago and during this interview, that just because if Alabama loses this game does not necessarily mean that the path to the college football playoff is not still there. It's just it might be detoured a little bit, and it might be a little bit more difficult. Your thoughts on that aspect if Alabama does lose this game moving forward?
Yeah, it obviously puts you in a must-win situation going to LSU, which we saw what happened 2 years ago. LSU obviously is playing better. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be a threat in the passing game, a lot more than what Tennessee will be tomorrow. And that obviously would be 100% must-win game for Alabama in 3 weeks. So with 2 losses, I mean, I would say you're most likely in, but there's a lot that could still happen around you that would potentially complicate that. I think the team that everybody's kind of forgetting about right now is Texas A&M. Because they're undefeated in the SEC. Their schedule going out is pretty easy. If they can win those 3 games they have on the road against Auburn, South Carolina, and whoever else they're playing on the road. I'm blanking on the other one, Mississippi State. Like they're in a pretty decent spot, even if they lose to Texas at the end of the year. I think if A&M splits that LSU and Texas matchup, both home games for them, they're probably going to Atlanta, and that's boxing out a team like Alabama. So it's a weird SEC race because it's all different this year, no divisions, but A&M is kind of the team that I think people are just completely forgetting about right now.
In regards to Mizzou next week, I guess we'll kind of learn a little bit more about them against Auburn, because when they went to College Station, they laid a big old goose egg. And so it'll be interesting to see after, they played the high school team in Amherst, Massachusetts last week. We'll see how they fare against Auburn tomorrow.
My dad's alma mater, UMass. I've been up there a few times.
No offense to the no offense to the school. I was talking about the football program.
No offense.
You know
no
that.
offense taken.
All right.
No offense taken.
Just making sure.
I remember when they tried to play in Gillette.
I didn't
Stadium,
need Mr. Rodak to call me like the fathers used to in the Paul Feinbaum show, like Brian Harson's dad.
Say, Mike's never coming back on the show now, Pat. Thanks.
I'm sorry about that. Scott, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I don't know how many UMass fans there actually are. If I called them up right now and asked them what UMass's record was, you probably would have no idea.
Oh.
But yeah, Missouri, I think that's another team where the passing game would scare me, even though it probably hasn't panned out as some people expected. Like, could I see Luther Burden going for 150 yards against Alabama's secondary? Yes. And I think that would be their path to winning. That, I don't know if the Auburn game, one way or the other, will make me feel a certain way about Missouri. I think you just have to take care of business at home in a better way than you did against South Carolina.
All right, final question, and we'll let you go. Your thoughts on Texas and Georgia? How big is this for Georgia?
Big, but I don't know if they need it. I think as long as it's a close game, even if Georgia loses, if they go out and beat Tennessee in whatever it is, 4 weeks, I think, is when they play, I think they're in the playoff. You take 2 close losses on the road, Alabama and Texas, you're in the playoff. I mean, there's even a weird world where I think you could take a close loss to Tennessee and still be considered for a playoff spot with 3 losses. Like, that's how tough Georgia's schedule has been. And I think people still will perceive them as a really good team as long as they don't get run out of the house, in Austin tomorrow. So I don't know. Like, that's a tough game. Like, I really had a hard time picking that one. I don't know what to expect. It's just there's a lot of novelty to it. And it's just you don't quite know what you're going to get out of Georgia this year, maybe compared to last year or previous years in general. But they're still a good team. And, this is still, I think, a good benchmark for where Texas is just in the SEC and their capability of winning a game like this.
That is Mike Rodak. You can follow his work, Bama247. Enjoy the trip to Rocky Top, and we'll talk to you next week.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. That is Mike Rodak. He joined us on the Buyers Ride Hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Ride Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. When we come back on Three Man Front, we will unpack what Mike Rodak just said, including his prediction of Tennessee defeating Alabama 28-23. That's next on Three Man Front. It is Tennessee week here on Three Man Front as Alabama heads north up to K-Town, Kville, Knoxville, Tennessee. Will be the site, Neyland Stadium. 100,000 plus. It will be a raucous crowd as Tennessee tries to beat, it used to be their biggest rival. Hadn't been much of a rival over the last 17 years with one win, but.
Hey, they split the last 2 years.
That's a good way to look at it.
So I'm sure that's how the Tennessee fans are looking at it. Well, last time we played in Neyland, we're 1-0. So that's probably really how they're framing it.
That's how I would say it.
So Damon's jaw hit the control room board when Mike Rodak predicted a Tennessee win over Alabama 28-23.
I was shocked. I really was. He set me up. He had me in the first half. I was like, okay, well, I see where he's leaning. He's a professional, as you can tell.
Yes, very much so.
He had me fooled. And then he hits me with the Tennessee prediction. I was like, oh, hey, boy.
I was about to say, I'll give Mike credit. He is not afraid to pick against Alabama if he genuinely has a reason to believe that they're not going to win the game, and I respect that.
So Bama 247, the website that Mike Rodak works for, Alex Scarborough has Alabama winning 41-37. We just mentioned Rodak's score. Cody Goodwin has Alabama winning 30-27. Brett Greenberg with the website, he's got Bama winning 31-27. Likewise, so does Kirk McNair. So if you add up the average score, Alabama 31, Tennessee 29.
They don't cover, though. That's the problem with that score. Pat.
Wait a second. So you're more worried about them covering than an Alabama win?
No, I just want both. I want to have my cake and eat it too.
Exactly, because good teams win, great teams cover.
That was the thing going back to the Vanderbilt game is, I mean, even up until the fourth quarter, really, my friends and I are sitting there going, I mean, we're going to win the game, but are they going to cover? And then it's, they're not even going to win the game.
Yeah.
But hey, as we always say, and you said it earlier in the week, Pat, good teams win, great teams cover.
I tell you.
ESPN says Alabama has a 53% chance of winning this game. Fox Sports has predicted Alabama 32, Tennessee 23. That's their prediction. EA Sports ran a simulation. They ran it 20 times.
Here we go.
Alabama won 13 of the 20 times. And the average score, this is weird, 24-12.
Okay.
Very odd.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. A lot of field goals. All right.
The Knoxville News Sentinel, Tennessee 27, Alabama 24. Now the Athletic, the computer model.
Can you hear that in the hallway?
Right.
Somebody's just playing Rocky Top in the hallway.
That's Todd.
I was like, I think I hear Rocky Top.
Yeah, he's playing it off his phone. All right, so the Athletics computer model, they've got Alabama winning by 3. So you see the theme. I haven't seen anybody really go really bold like our listeners on the 3-man front Twitter poll question of the day, which right now still leading at 32.8%. Tide will win by double digit.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, the poll question is a bold prediction. But I will just say this. I think if the game were to end up being a blowout, I see it more likely being a blowout in Alabama's favor than Tennessee's favor. And that's just because Alabama's offense has looked better the last few weeks than Tennessee's has.
Also, VolQuest, the website, they have Tennessee winning 27-24.
Okay.
So
that's close. Very, very close.
But I just bring this up, and I brought it up a couple days ago, but Alabama is currently 13th in the SEC in total defense. And it's been 21 years since, statistically speaking, the defense has trended this poorly. 21 years. Back in 2003, the Tide finished 8th in the SEC. They gave up 360 yards a game. This year's defense for Alabama has given up 343 yards per game.
Not good.
Just something to think about.
And you haven't played Tennessee or LSU or...
And
Vanderbilt have 418.
Yeah, and on the defensive side, Alabama has allowed at least 25 points in 3 straight games. Its longest streak in the regular season since 2003. The last time Alabama gave up 25 or more points in 4 straight games, Damian, 1955.
Oh yeah, that was a hell of a year. That was it was tough. It was different SEC back then.
Yes, it was.
Hell, it wasn't even the SEC back then. Like, man.
It was very different. So, but you heard Mike bring it up. He believes the story of the game will kind of play out, will be how well Tennessee's defense plays. You can kind of tell that he's more concerned about Alabama going to Baton Rouge and facing Nussmeier than he is Nico in this offense.
And right now, I think that's fair because while Garrett Nussmeier, again, he can turn the ball over a little bit, but he has also shown the ability to, if you're throwing an interception, but you're also throwing for 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns to go with it, you can probably live with that most weeks. So, yeah, I think this game is my, optimism for the Tennessee defense is, again, you just saw a Florida team that was able to move the ball down the field consistently sustain drives, which I know that's not the style that Alabama plays, but they were able to sustain drives, get to the red zone. They just weren't able to convert that into points. And so if Florida does that, you have to feel decently that Alabama can do the same thing. It's just, all right, are you going to have to settle for field goals? Are you going for it on fourth down and not converting? Or are you turning these into 7 points? And if they're able to do that, then I think it's going to be pretty good for Alabama. But, I mean, they are still Tennessee top 5 defense, total defense in the country. So it's going to be a challenge.
And speaking offensively for Tennessee, earlier this season, they kind of toyed around with the Tennessee fan base because the first 3 games of the season, they scored 50-plus points in those 3 games. They joined the Alabama team of 2018, who scored 50-plus in 3 straight games. So they tied the SEC record with Alabama the first 3 games. But since then, Tennessee has averaged right at 21 points a game and actually has negative yards differential in its last 3 games. So that's
fix
where
that, Damien.
That's where the Heupel disciples are getting a little worried because he's known for his offense, and they have gone backwards the last 2 games.
One, quality of competition the first 3 games kind of leads you that, okay, yeah,
you don't think NC State's very good?
Nah, not so much. But no, I mean, Nico looks like a guy that hadn't played much. And I think Arkansas kind of gave you the blueprint of just how to rattle them. And I think Alabama's good enough defensively to disrupt them. And I think a lot of it has to do, too, with the receivers that they have. Nobody is just a take over the game guy. They just don't have the Jalen Hyatt or out there right now. Like, these guys are solid, but it's collectively a group of number 2 guys. And no disrespect to Brew McCoy, but he's no burner. Now, he probably won't drop a pass that's thrown his way, but he's not going to be over the top of anybody. Dante Thornton looks the part, but he doesn't play consistently enough. And I think Squirrel White has he's the fastest of them all. But I go back to, Florida last week where Nico had some shots down the field and he just missed them. And I was texting Conrad last week. I was like, I figured that Nico's starting to trend more towards the Joe Milton route than he is the Hendon Hooker route. And he's
actually more inaccurate than Joe Milton was last year.
Right.
Yeah. I gave a stat yesterday in regards to their the effectiveness and their passing stats, and he is well behind Milton from last year.
That's bad.
From his accuracy standpoint.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good at all. And the only thing with Joe Milton was he couldn't hit a hitch route. Now, he'll throw the go ball. I promise you, he would have hit Squirrel White on the big post they had last week. But I think if Nico just settles in and he finds, he just got to be confident in himself. And I also think his legs play a big part too. If they can find a way to mix it up a little bit and actually have quarterback design runs and get him out there, slide first of all, don't take a hit because he's a string bean. But I do think that can add another element to what could help Tennessee's offense get back to rolling.
Yeah, Alabama just really has to be able to tackle because of, kind of like you were just talking about, I don't really have a huge concern about Tennessee hitting, 50, 60-yard passes down the sideline. I have concerns about plays over the middle, those intermediate passes that you then break a couple tackles and it ends up being an explosive play. And that kind of goes along with Nico running the ball as well, as that's just been an area that, quite frankly, Alabama just hasn't been very good at tackling. And there's been a number of times where in short yardage situations, you're kind of used to seeing these Alabama teams get stops at the line of scrimmage or tackles for losses. And instead, they're hitting a guy, but they're not wrapping him up. And then they're able to get and stretch forward for a yard or two. And that turns into a first down. And then the drive it all kind of feeds into the problems that they've had defensively. And I think tomorrow specifically tackling is going to be huge for Alabama. And we saw Jahad Campbell last year kind of have his breakout moment for Alabama in this game, had that big scoop and score in the second half. And, he's a nice player, but he struggled at times this year. And maybe this is, the week that him and Lawson kind of get back to being the dogs that they were last year.
There were no changes on Tennessee's Thursday injury report with redshirt freshman running back Ken Seldom listed as questionable and redshirt freshman left tackle Lance Hurd listed as probable. Meanwhile, for Alabama, Daniel Hill was added, running back, as out. Keon Sabb, probable. He was added to the list.
I'm probably going to be upset if he doesn't play.
Yanze Pierre is upgraded from questionable to probable. He was just in the hospital about 10 days ago?
Yeah.
Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice removed from being probable. Talked to a couple of people down in Tuscaloosa over the last 24 hours, and they stressed to me how important it was to get Kendrick Law and Kobe Prentice back on the offense. Now, this team is very beat up, just like most teams are when you get to this point of the season. As you turn the corner, heading down the stretch, the final 6 games of the season, everybody's beat up. Alabama, matter of fact, has got some dudes that just have been unable to practice to try to improve on things because they can't get on the field because they've been banged up. But getting Kendrick Law and Kobe Prentice back, that is big for the offensive unit.
Have you heard anything about Damani Jackson, again, who got hurt last week, but then came back into the game, got the game-sealing interception, but he's still listed as probable? I'm assuming that he's going to go tomorrow, but I just didn't know if you had heard anything about him.
Nothing in particular about him, just the fact that the overall health of this football team is they're very banged up. So just take that for what that is worth. When we come back, we'll open up the phone lines at 1-800-239-WJOX. We'll also the text line. Courtesy GMC brings that to you, 205-834-9450. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. You know, we're blessed here at 3-Man Front. The interaction we have with the listening audience is incredible, and we appreciate that greatly. Whether you follow us on Twitter at the number 3-Man Front, obviously downloading the podcast, the text line brought to you by Courtesy GMC 205-834-9450. And, you know, it's going to be a good, pretty weekend, and I know there's a lot of great ball coming up. But if you go to Courtesy GMC, the thing I love is they've got 11 televisions in the showroom. Like, you will not miss. So you go shop for a brand new Courtesy GMC, one of those brand new Yukons or Yukon XLs or Sierras that they've got arriving daily there at Courtesy GMC. You're not going to miss one single down of football. They love football just like we do, and they've got it on every single time that there is a game teed up ready to kick off. So you can go shop, get the best deals you're going to find anywhere on a Yukon XL, up to, $7,000 off MSRP. That's right. Go to courtesybirmingham.com. Check out all their great inventory. And whether it's the service department, you want to get an oil change, something else done to your vehicle, or if you have a little fender bender, their body shop is award-winning. Let them take care of you. That's what they do at Courtesy GMC in Trussville. Go by and see them. Exit 32 off of I-459 in Trussville. CourtesyBirmingham.com is the website. Courtesy GMC, Josh Gargis, Drew Lawley, just do an incredible job out there in Trussville. Go by and see them this weekend.
And they sponsor our wonderful text line here on Three Man Front, 205-834-9450. If you want to chime in on the phone line or the text line, we'll get to your calls in a second. But a lot of text funneling in here. We have, this is a popular request. I feel like we talk about the story a lot. But somebody from Huntsville is texting in and is asking if you will, again, tell the story about Philip Fulmer calling you a bitch.
Whoa, hold on.
It's a popular story here on Three Man
For
Front.
real?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not kidding you. Another person just texted in before I read that and asked the exact same question.
Okay, I'll give the briefest story that I can tell about this. Basically, in a nutshell, if you listen to the Paul Feinbaum show during the 90s, 2000s, we had a terrible relationship with Philip Fulmer in the University of Tennessee. And matter of fact, it was so bad that he chickened out for coming to SEC football media days because he believed that he was going to be served a subpoena by Tommy Gallion during the Tommy Gallion lawsuit about boosters and problems going on at the University of Tennessee. Goes back to the Albert Means case, all that kind of stuff. So years later, after Philip Fulmer is out, and keep in mind that Paul Feinbaum is a University of Tennessee graduate.
He is.
And so we had a very bad relationship with him. And we were in an SEC championship game. It was myself, Kerry Adams, and Paul. And this was pregame. We were on the field. And when I say pregame, I mean, there was like nobody on the floor of the Georgia Dome. Okay. Like zero, except Fulmer was doing some stuff for CBS television. They were taping something. And we were standing in the corner of the end zone. And he is starting to walk out, and he's like looking at his phone, and then he literally like looks up about 10 feet away from us, and he sees us. And as he starts walking past us, he goes, "Bitches." And so I looked at Paul, I looked at Carrie, and we're all like going, "Did he just call us bitches?" And we started dying laughing. Like nobody was bowing up, but it was just like, really? Seriously?
Wow.
Okay. So that's basically it. I mean, it was just so outlandish that this great Tennessee Hall of Fame coach wants to walk past us and call us bitches. I'm like, first class, dude.
Dang, Phil.
Keep doing Phil Fulmer.
And that's the program that you choose to support.
That's the program that you're wearing on your chest right now.
Hold on. Josh Heupel just so happens to be the coach of Tennessee.
No, your blood is orange.
Let him go back home to Oklahoma. Hey, we'll be playing Boomer Sooner every day.
And so imagine how funny it is to me.
That is wild.
When I see, like, for instance, this afternoon, Paul will be his show will be live in Knoxville. And, countless times I've seen Phil Fulmer, on the Paul Feinbaum show.
Full circle, ain't it?
I have not had my opportunity to see Fat Phil again.
Something tells me you're not too tore up about that.
I could care less. I mean, what he did to Johnny Majors when Johnny Majors had open heart surgery, how he took over a coup d'etat and took over the University of Tennessee. And the things that I could tell off the air about things that I know from recruiting that took place when he was the head coach at Tennessee.
That's called NIL now, Pat.
It is. It's true. It's all legal now, but back then it wasn't.
I know it.
But but the fact that this guy,
right,
that is so revered in the state of Tennessee for being, they forget about the fact that They hired Jeremy Pruitt. They forget about the fact that he was on a practice field and got him dinged by the NCAA and all the other problems they had. Everybody conveniently forgets that, and he gets a golden parachute. It's unbelievable.
Man.
But anyway, sorry.
Thank you for sharing.
Hey, no, sorry. Yeah,
Didn't mean to go longer than.
I was unfamiliar with your game, brother. I didn't know.
But that's, yeah. So your head coach
No, Josh Heupel would never.
likes to go around and.
He would never.
So that's the story.
You think Derek Dooley would do something like that? Probably not. Bush Jones wouldn't either.
Greg Schiano wouldn't have.
Well, we're still gonna play that game.
Hey man, Rutgers is
He's coaching Wade for like the 15th year.
But to describe the hatred because of everything that was going on with the NCAA, the allegations, with what happened in Memphis with Albert Means, what was going on with Logan Young, with Dubose, with questionable recruiting, boosters on both sides. I mean, it was nasty between Alabama and Tennessee. Very, very ugly.
I see.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Pat. I know our texters appreciate you sharing that story. We have Tommy texting in from Montgomery. He asks, what is the pledge total up to now? Is there a Venmo account that I can send money to? In reference to, if you missed it yesterday, the Surströmming fiasco, whatever we want to call it, that they're going to make me go through. We decided that I would have to eat some of the nasty fish if we could raise enough money for Hurricane Milton relief.
That is Landrum. Landrum is
Okay.
handling the accounting
Okay.
of that.
Bro, that is a good cause. But dog,
I'm a man of the people, Damien.
I
I'm
know,
trying
man.
to help out people in need.
you might have to work remote for the next couple of days, boy. From what I know about the smell of that fish.
It doesn't strike me as something where I can brush my teeth and kind of fix the.
And I can tell you
Problem.
the fish is in the vicinity.
Yeah, I saw the unveiling.
Yeah, it's on the roof of the building sunbathing, I'm sure.
It's fermenting further.
Yeah, that's thank you just so much for that, Pat. Let's
More
see.
power to you, brother.
Yeah. Tyler from Jemison texting in asking, how big is Tennessee missing their middle linebacker, Peely, who is going to be out for the rest of the season? He was their captain,
Quarterback
their
on defense.
Yeah, their defensive play caller
That's big.
on the field.
It's big. It's
is.
something that whether Alabama and Auburn have ever experienced having your signal caller on defense. Now it's a little bit, I wouldn't say it's easier, but it's more convenient now because whoever you do replace, you still now you have the communication in the helmet. So that helps out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But once that clicks off at 15 seconds, then you're still going to have to make certain calls yourself. So that's big when you lose your middle linebacker.
Bobby texting in, he says, I'm starting to see why Alabama fans hate Tennessee so much. Since the Arkansas upset, Razorback fans seem to be forgetting that they're the little brother in this battle for the boot this weekend. Give me Alabama and LSU to win big tomorrow. Okay. Corey texting in, if Alabama doesn't play well on defense and can't get off the field on third down, Kane needs to just stay up there and buy himself a boathouse on the river. I think that will be a popular sentiment. Let's see. Somebody asking if you could give us, what you've heard about the Alabama team, but if you missed it, you did that a few moments ago.
They feel very good offensively getting Kobe Prentice and Law back.
I'm ready to see.
Yes.
I'm ready to see Kendrick Law block again. Like that made a receiver very happy.
Yeah.
What he was doing out there on the edge against Georgia.
We have somebody texting in about Mike Rodak picking Tennessee to beat Alabama. He says, the only time that I envy Auburn is when you listen to the team's reporters and they give them a chance to win. He doesn't like that Mike Rodak picked against Tennessee, and he says it's almost like wondering if Alabama's actually an Alabama fan. Is Mike Rodak really covering Alabama?
I think he does.
He does a
I think
great
he does.
job.
I think Mike does an outstanding job. He just
He's a
that's his opinion. I mean, he covers the team. He knows things on and off the field that is going on around that program, and he makes an assessment, and that's his prediction.
I mean, heck, we cover Alabama and Auburn technically. We don't pick them to win every week.
Well, Conrad does.
Well,
Yeah.
it's because I'm a shill. We have somebody predicting Mississippi State is going to win big over Texas A&M tomorrow.
Wow.
I've been waiting to do that for so long.
We will get to more of your text messages and your phone calls as well. This is a Football Friday. This is Jocks 94.5.
Welcome back into Three Man Front, 11:50 here on your Friday afternoon, getting you set for a big weekend of college football. Third Saturday in October, Auburn, Missouri, Texas, Georgia. It just continues to get better here in SEC country as the season rolls along. We're about to do our favorite segment of the week. If you like putting money in your pocket, we're about to be joined by our buddy JR from TakingVegas.com. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Big Whiskeys, because when you're watching all of the great college football action this weekend, you're going to need somewhere to watch those games. And Big Whiskeys is a great place to do that. They have a great menu ranging from appetizers to salads, burgers, and steaks. Their bar also features unique cocktails with over 120 different whiskey options, including whiskeys on tap, and of course, plenty of screens for you to catch all of the action. And don't forget, this holiday season, let Big Whiskeys do the work for you, and they can cater your business or social gatherings of any size this holiday season. Go visit them at Stadium Trace Village off of Highway 150 near the Hoover Met. All right, let's put some money in your pocket. He is undefeated on the year so far, our buddy JR from TakingVegas.com. JR, it is a pleasure to get to talk to you again and let you put some money in my pocket.
Yeah, you got it, man. Hey, listen, first off, happy Football Friday to everybody that's listening. And when I come to your neck of the woods, I got to go to that Big Whiskey place. They got whiskey on tap. Man, does that sound exciting. That's my kind of place.
That's absolutely right.
Business, guys. I could tell you this much, okay? Not only are we undefeated here on air, but we are absolutely, I mean, you want to talk about making our clients money hand over fist. We are doing it night and day over here at Taking Vegas. And I've got a line on this big matchup that's going to be going down between Alabama, Tennessee. Huge matchup. Both teams not only coming off tough losses and tough wins. I can tell you right now, it's a great matchup. It's hard for you to figure this one out on your own, but do not go anywhere, guys, because I'm going to tell you right now, I've got this one locked up. It is absolutely free on a recorded line right now. Call this number, 888-9-WIN-NOW. That's 888-9-WIN-NOW. You dial that number, you get the winner of this Alabama-Tennessee matchup absolutely free on a recorded line. That's 888-994-6669 to get that winner. But, guys, look, it's not just about the one game. It's about what we're doing in here. And not only, again, wins hand over fist, because winning is everything, but also the way we're managing bankrolls has gotten off to such a start that our clientele have seen not even just 2 or 3 times, some guys 10 to 15 times what they started with less than a month ago. Check it out for yourself. Get the winner of this Alabama-Tennessee matchup for free on the recorded line right now. 888-9-WIN-NOW, 888-994-6669.
And JR, I know our listeners are chomping on the bit to get your free pick of the week that you give out on air. But before we do that, I know something you kind of just hit on, but something that you're really big on is financial responsibility. And as I understand it, it's been pretty much a rough year, a rough season for the betting public, as a lot of people losing a lot of money. And that's absolutely not what y'all want to happen there at TakingVegas.com. And y'all make it a point to let people know that use your service, that they have somebody in their corner to not only help them win big, but also find a way to manage their money and their finances.
You know, it's a great point. Without question, it is so big, okay? And as much as it's good for my business that the public loses, I hate seeing it. I really can't stand it, because I know that this is fun for everybody, right? And you said it, bet responsibly. You shouldn't be betting with money that you cannot afford to lose. This is still betting on sports. Any given Sunday or Saturday, you put a bet on a game, there's a very high probability that that game can win or lose. So be prepared to lose, but have fun when you're winning. So that being said, guys, right now is the worst that the public has gotten off to a start since they started keeping record because of legalized sports betting all over the country. The public is upside down right now, not just by a little bit, but by almost double what they've ever seen before. I mean, we're talking about being upside down unit-wise by almost double what they've won, and on top of the amount that they've lost. How about this? The 2 biggest sports books, the 2 biggest legalized sports books, we won't say names, have made $10 billion this year so far, and $8.5 billion of it has been on you guys betting parlays and just donating money to the books. We're going to teach you how to do this the right way. We do it mainly with the straight bets, and we're going to show you how to manage your bankroll so that you are piling up when you're winning and you know to pull back when those games don't go your way. Again, 888-9-WIN-NOW for the big winner between Alabama, Tennessee. It's 888-9-WIN-NOW. give it a call, 888-994-6669, if you want to get a head start to this week and make it a real weekend to remember, guys.
Alrighty, JR, let's get to it. The main event here. You are on fire, as we've mentioned, undefeated on the season so far when giving out your free pick here on the air with us on Three Man Front. What games caught your eye this week, JR?
Well, I got to tell you. Well, also this. Let's do this before we give out the free pick. Guys, I know a lot of you can't make the call, so if you want to just text us, text the word WIN to 545454. I'm going to give you the winner, okay, absolutely free, again, of this Alabama-Tennessee matchup. If you can't make the call, give us a text. Text the word WIN to 545454, and you'll get that winner of Alabama-Tennessee for free via text. So we're going to London this week, okay? I can tell you this much, guys. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars who've stayed over. Okay, they did not have to go back home and then come back to London. New England Patriots have been struggling all year. The line on this game is 6, and I really love it when I see that the public is betting an underdog. Guys, this is one of those games I don't think will be even close. Yes, that New England defense is pretty good, especially good at creating turnovers. We know Jacksonville has struggled. Doug Peterson is on the hot seat, but this is one of those games that is going to have them talking when they come home. Do they fire him? Do they keep him around at least for the rest of the year? I think Jacksonville brings it together this week. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to get it done through the air. They're not going to rush the ball as confidently as they want to, but I think they'll make up for it with the passing attack. Get in the Jaguars minus the 6. Here's the other thing. It's a reverse line movement. Public's betting on New England, so instead of the line coming down from 5.5 to 5, it's went from 5.5 to 6. I tell you now, reverse line movements, those are money. Get in the Jacksonville Jaguars minus the 6.
There it is, JR. Another great week. Appreciate you, man. Sorry we are up against it. Barrett Sallee, he's up next.
As we get ready for hour number 3 here on Three Man Front, Pat Smith, Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell Molly and Landry will be back with us on Monday. It's a football Friday. Appreciate Wimp Sanderson joining us earlier. Mike Rodak from Bama 247, who predicted a Tennessee win against the University of Alabama. Joining us now on the Buyers Ride Hotline from Smothered and Covered, and of course Sirius XM. Barrett Sallee joins us here on Three Man Front. Barrett, hope you're doing well. This is going to be an exciting weekend of college football.
Man, it's going to be awesome. You know, it's hard to believe that Tennessee, Alabama is kind of like an appetizer, but it is. I mean, you go from Tennessee, Alabama to Texas, Georgia. I mean, man, what a great 8 hours we're going to have in SEC football on Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, it's I know Alabama fans are excited about trying to get revenge on Rocky Top. The last time obviously did not go well, but, man, it should be fun.
All right, so let's start there because both programs, it's kind of difficult to think about the history of this rivalry between Tennessee and Alabama, that perhaps if things would have gone a certain way last Saturday, both of these teams would be coming into the game with a 2-game losing streak apiece. I don't ever remember that happening in the history of this series, but both teams found a way to secure a win last Saturday. How does that change your line of thinking going into this game, if any, in regards to who might win?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think it's more detrimental to Alabama in my mind. You know, what we saw last week was pretty darn concerning. The offensive line, South Carolina had like 9 tackles for loss, and Jalen Milroe was running for his life. And, you know, honestly, you look back at how that game went, I mean, South Carolina outplayed Alabama, you know, except for the turnover game. And that ultimately caused, I don't know, like it's stands or butts or whatever, but I mean, that's not supposed to happen. It just is not supposed to happen. You know, Tennessee with Florida, that's not really supposed to happen either. But I said this last week, and, you know, I said the week before too. You know, Florida lost to Miami and Texas A&M, and everybody jumped all over them. Is that really that much of an indictment? To me, I don't know if it is. I think it's just more maybe a compliment to those teams. So Tennessee to scratch and claw and get a win over Florida. Okay, like that's okay. It's not ideal. I think the biggest problem to me anyway for Tennessee is that it's 2 weeks in a row where the offense has gotten off to a very sluggish start. Is that a sign of things to come, coaching or whatever? I don't know. But to me, Alabama, you know, kind of all over the place for, you know, it's not just the first time that's happened. It's been a lot this year. That to me is very concerning.
So, Barrett, talking about this game, I want to get your take on kind of the college football playoff implications of it, because it's going to be a big game, and whoever wins is certainly going to have a clearer path to making the 12-team field at the end of it. But do you see this as, you know, whoever loses this game, it's potentially an elimination game, or do you think there's still some wiggle room for both of these teams afterwards? It's just obviously, you know, at that point you probably need to win out.
Yeah, there's definitely wiggle room for the loser. I just don't know. Like, it's hard to say how much because we don't know the landscape. I think the interesting thing to me, the committee will never say this out loud, but if there are a bunch of 10-2 SEC teams, let's say there's 5 that are 10-2 or better, is that 5th one going to get the benefit of the doubt if there's like a second ACC team or a second, you know, Big 12 team that could be in the answer is probably not, just because they don't want to have it all centered around the SEC, especially in year one of the new system. It's a bad precedent to set, but I do think it's something that they will do, whether consciously or unconsciously. So, you know, I think with that said, you know, a second loss really, I mean, for either team, but, you know, especially for a team like Bama, which, like, Vandy, I love the story. It has more of a chance to fall off than maybe people are expecting right now. So for Alabama, I think it would be difficult to come back. They'd probably be like 5th in the pecking order if they have, you know, if we have, you know, 5 10-2 teams or whatever. Tennessee the same way. It's gonna in a similar situation, but you know, it's hard to tell with the landscape. I think the biggest thing that could come into play with the SEC and potentially a 5th team, and maybe Tennessee or Alabama being that one, is that the Big Ten is kind of all over the place, But I think Penn State's emergence could actually hurt in this conversation with the SEC, because if you're going to have 5 SEC teams, which I do believe there will be 5 or more that are 10-2 or better, then you kind of need only 2 Big Ten teams to be worthy. And I think with Penn State being in that mix, there might be 3 with Oregon and with Ohio State. So it's hard to predict with the landscape, but yeah, I mean, they're going to have an uphill battle, whoever loses this one.
All right, Barrett, and taking a look at the other team in the state with Auburn, they take this trip up to Columbia after the bye week, and it's been actually surprisingly kind of quiet around these parts about just kind of where this game could potentially be, because I do think Auburn is talented enough to go up and beat Missouri there at 11 on Saturday. But what is like your confidence level about this Auburn Tiger team coming after the bye week?
My confidence level is not very high, but like you said, like I think Auburn is one of those teams where you kind of want to shake them and be like, just be a little bit better in the turnover game, and they could be all right. You know, they're running the football with Jarquez Hunter. I think after the bye week they'll do more of that. We've seen the wide receivers have their moments, but Peyton Thorne is a turnover machine, and it's just the fact that their defense has kept them in so many games where the problem has been Peyton Thorne or Hank Brown and only the quarterback. Like there's been no other issue is pretty remarkable to me. So, you know, going to Missouri, you know, it's a sleepy 11 a.m. start Central. I don't really love Missouri. You know, even before the Texas A&M game, it's like, okay, you know, what are you really offensively? Have you fixed the running game? The answer is no. They've been fundamentally unsound in in their tackling all season long. I think Auburn gets the job done in a very, very ugly game, but my confidence in that is slightly above 0, just only slightly above 0, because I do think that Auburn actually has a chance to really confidence in the bye week and move forward. If they can just be, you know, get Peyton Thorne to get his head screwed on straight, they could be halfway decent.
In regards to this game between Texas and Georgia, we've talked a lot this week about what potentially could happen. And I know Conrad just asked you about the playoff scenario with Alabama and Tennessee. But in regards to Georgia, how big a game is this for them? I mean, do they got enough equity built up in the strength of their schedule to where even if they lose another tough game on the road to a top 5 opponent, are they in jeopardy down the road of not making the CFP?
Yeah, for sure, because the schedule doesn't really let up all that much, right? You know, I think before the season, we were like, oh, Florida's got the toughest schedule in the SEC, and that's true, but Georgia isn't that far behind them, to be honest. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're 9-3 in the SEC, I don't think you're getting it. So if you're 10-2 and you're Georgia, you probably, you know, you have probably 2 pretty good losses to sell if you lose to Texas and Alabama, but does that really matter all that much? So for Georgia, I mean, I can't imagine a scenario. Honestly, it's odd to be in the scenario where it's like, okay, is Georgia going to make the playoff? And it's October 18th, right? It's like, it's Georgia, of course they should make the playoff. No, well, maybe not. So I think the biggest thing, you know, they're a flawed football team. I think there's only been really one flawless team this year, at least, you know, a major power player, and that's Texas, because Georgia can't run the football. They just simply can't do it. That's really hurt Carson Beck. You know, I think against Alabama, you know, the problem was that after a couple mistakes, they couldn't rely on the running game just to settle things down. And that's how Alabama got out to that 28-point lead. So, you know, they've got to fix that. And if they lose this game, you know, do we think it's going to change anytime soon? I mean, this is kind of their identity at this point. So for the race for the playoff, it's huge. And if they lose, kind of like the same thing with Alabama and Tennessee, the loser of this game, if Georgia's the loser of this game, you're asking them to basically be perfect the rest of the season. And with that schedule, that's no easy task.
Catching up with Barrett Sallee here on 3-Man Front, host of College Football Smothered and Covered, also part of SiriusXM as well as Outkick. Barrett, a game that I feel like is maybe the most popular upset pick in the SEC, but maybe even just the entire national slate this weekend. We have the battle for the boot with LSU coming off that big emotional win over Ole Miss, Arkansas having that upset win over Tennessee, I think being a little better than a lot of us were expecting this year. Are you on the Arkansas hype train? Do you think that they're going to be able to pull off the upset, or do you think LSU continues to roll after what we saw last week against Ole Miss?
I think LSU rolls. The thing is, like, their defense has actually been pretty darn decent, and pretty darn decent for LSU's defense is like a massive step forward. And I think the offensive line has gotten better as the year goes on. I mean, USC game, they were kind of all over the place. And I think for Arkansas, they're kind of one-dimensional in the sense that they can run if Taylor Green's healthy, and their defense is lights out with Travis Williams. But can they get into a little bit of a track meet? And I think LSU is going to force them into that a little bit. And I don't think that they can. And I think so moving forward with LSU, that's the kind of game they need to play, is get teams out of their comfort zone a little bit, because the top end for LSU really isn't as high as others. But they can get Arkansas outside of its comfort zone, just with a couple of explosive plays. I think Arkansas is going to be behind the eight ball, and that's Travis Williams has done a great job for that defense. He's done a great job for that Arkansas defense, but he has to get some help. And when Arkansas is in games, it's because they're low scoring, and I just don't think this is going to be as low scoring as Arkansas really wants it to be.
In regards to, besides Texas, I think we can all agree right now that they look like the full package. Who outside the SEC? Would it be Oregon in your mind, or do you still give hope that Ohio State, that was just a little speed bump on the road to potentially being that team this year in college football?
I do think it's Oregon, just because, like, in this day and age, it takes a little while for teams to sort of figure themselves out. And that was the case with Oregon in weeks 1 and 2. And really in week 2 against Boise State, ifs, ands, or buts or whatever, but Ashton Genty had, 2-3 long plays, and that's about it. They kind of kept them in check after that, or despite that. But they figured themselves out. The defensive line rotation sort of got settled and can withstand injuries like we saw last week with Jordan Burch out. So it would be Oregon. To me, Ohio State is – I don't know if I can trust Will Howard. He had a great game except for that last play. But is that something we can count on long term? I still can't buy it all that much. So of the major power players, yeah, it's Texas, and then I think it would be Oregon. Penn State, man, I don't know what their upside is, but man, they are solid. They're just solid. They don't their lows aren't low, their highs aren't that high. They're just a really, really consistent and really good football team. Can they be great? I don't think so. But we talk about Texas not really having any flaws, and really Penn State had a nail biter against Bowling Green in week 2, but I mean, going to LA like that and getting whipped in the first half and coming back, that matters. I mean, that's not a great USC team, but it still matters a lot. So I think the rankings right now do kind of indicate where teams should be, especially in that top 3. But I think the gap between Oregon and everybody else, I think, is pretty significant when you take Texas out of the equation.
All right, Barrett, let's circle back to where we started this conversation, because as you know, our listeners here on Jocks 94.5 and 3-Man Front, they love your picks of Alabama games before a big game for the Crimson Tide. So this game tomorrow between Alabama and Tennessee, do you have a lean on it? Do you have a pick ready to go? Maybe even a specific score in mind for tomorrow?
Okay, first things first, I did pick Alabama to beat Georgia. I'm just saying.
You did.
I did pick Alabama to beat Georgia.
You did.
And so Alabama fans who think I always pick against the Tide, I don't always pick against the Tide, but I'm picking against the Tide.
There it is.
He's going to win.
There it is. Well, thank you, Barrett. I appreciate that, because that makes me feel so much better about the game tomorrow.
I know. All those jokes. But I mean, look, the matchup, styles make fights, right? Like, styles make fights, and it's a big matchup problem when Alabama has the ball, because Tennessee's defensive front, even without Peely, is fierce, and Alabama's offensive line has struggled, especially last week. So that's I think going to tell the tale of the game.
That is Barrett Sallee. Joins us every Friday here on 3-Man Front. Barrett, have a great weekend and look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks. That's Barrett Sallee joining us. So for the record,
Alabama's going to win tomorrow.
He took Tennessee.
What's his record?
I don't know, but to be fair, he did bring up a good point that he did pick Alabama to beat Georgia.
He did pick Alabama to beat Georgia
earlier this year. It was more so last year. There was just a streak of about a month where
it was just like any time it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't want him to put no bad juju on hype on them boys.
Yeah. So appreciate Barrett joining us on the Buyers Ride Hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Ride Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. It is the Alabama-Tennessee week, and one of the biggest things that we get each and every week every year during this week is the famous song that we played during the Paul Feinbaum days. When we come back, we will let you hear that rendition of what Rocky Top, the song, actually means. That's next on Three Man Front. Pat Smith, Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order with you on this Football Friday. The Paul Feinbaum Show will be live from Knoxville, Tennessee, coming up at 2 o'clock. You can hear that right here on Jocks 94.5. And speaking of Mr. Feinbaum, we used to have some fun times on the third Saturday in October. And a few years ago, when we were doing the show together, Courtney Hayden, a longtime radio voice in the Birmingham metropolitan area, did outstanding work also from a production standpoint. He contacted me and Paul and said, hey, got an idea for a parody. And I was like, hey, all about it. So he said, hey, for the Tennessee-Alabama week, I've come up with something to where I was watching PBS, and PBS had a special on Rocky Top, on the song and what the actual lyrics of the song means. So just setting this up, this is Courtney Hayden's version of what he saw when he watched a PBS documentary on what does Rocky Top really mean. That is one of the most requested things that we did back in the old days of the Feinbaum show. So just thought we would keep it alive and well here on Three Man Front. Damien, that was the first time you've ever heard that.
I had never heard this day in my life, and I was
He
quite
cracked
entertained.
a smile, yeah.
He was smiling.
I was quite entertained.
Even with his Tennessee quarter zip on.
Yeah, fits nicely. Fits nicely.
So Alabama and Tennessee, that will be the 2:30 game coming up tomorrow. We were asking Barrett about this Auburn game, and not a lot of confidence that Barrett Sallee had in regards to the Auburn Tigers. I was looking at a couple of stats this morning, and Auburn undercover all of their writers, we were talking about this earlier about Alabama, everybody predicting a score. So the 8 people from Auburn Undercover, part of the 247 network, they have Mizzou winning 27-26.
It's about as close as it can get. It's better than what was it, the Alabama-Georgia game where it was like 30-30 or it was a tie score prediction? Yeah.
So Philip Marshall has Auburn winning by 10. Jason Caldwell has Auburn winning by 4. Patrick Bingham has Missouri winning by 14.
Ooh.
Christian Clemente has Missouri winning by 7. Nathan King has Missouri winning by 4. And Ronnie Sanders has Auburn winning by 3. So if you add up all those scores, Mizzou 27-26.
Well, 205-834-9450 or 1-800-239-9569. That'll get you here on the Buyers Right hotline or the Jocks text line. And we've had some people waiting patiently by. I don't know if we're getting a poem, but we do have Crimson Convict on. How are you doing this morning, Crimson Convict?
I'm good, man. No, I got to talk to Damien. Is he running for Knoxville City Council or something?
He's doing something because he's got so much orange on. It's disgusting.
Well, I mean, Conrad was incorrect. I had no idea he was dressed as a county worker. I was talking about the disrespect of Tennessee 7+. And I'm going to tell you, Pat, clearly he has not done an accurate background check on this rivalry.
No,
right?
no, he has not.
Well, Damien's been a Tennessee fan for 2 years, so it looks a little different for him.
Yeah, since Josh Heupel got there. Yeah.
Well, and also, Pat, Fat Boy Phil needs to have been looking in a mirror when he uttered that phrase to you and Paul. Because what did he set us back? Probably 5 years in 2002? Did he set our program back?
Yeah, I mean, he was him and his underlings did a really nice job, not only against Alabama, but other programs in the SEC, but Alabama in particular.
Yes. Damien's probably not aware. Damien, we had a 2-year postseason ban, 5 years of probation,
vacated wins,
21 scholarships over what? Over 3 or 5 years, Pat?
I think it was over 5 years, and it was part of the textbook. Remember the textbooks as well?
They had those back then?
So basically a whole recruiting class.
Yes.
But yeah, the NCAA wanted us bad anyway.
Yes.
They always wanted Alabama. And Phil, secret witness Phil, was the linchpin in the NCAA revealing, getting their way about that. So he needs to understand this rivalry. There was a time when I definitely hated Tennessee more than I did Auburn.
No doubt.
Especially during those years. Yeah, 100%. So, Damien, if I can get there Tuesday, buddy, I will be straightening this up with you directly.
I got you.
See you, boys.
Hey, Convict, before you go, you have a score prediction?
Yeah, I mean, I've already locked it in. The wagering god smiled on me last night. I snuck in through the back door with Marshall, and then I had Spencer Rattler under 184 and a hook, and they pulled him when he had 172.
Oh, wow.
Looky there.
Good for you.
Yeah. I was able to catch Bama at 2.5 on mine. It dipped for a minute. So we're going to struggle. Their defensive line is going to give us problems. I'm probably going to say 28-23, Alabama.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
All right, man. See you.
Thanks. Crimson Convict joining us here on 3-Man Front.
All right, let's go. AJ's been waiting a while. Let's go to AJ in Florida. Wants to chime in about the third Saturday in October. How are we doing today, AJ?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for taking my call. You guys earlier were talking about this being an elimination game for the playoffs. Guys, Bama's not a playoff team. They're not any good. And I'm a big Bama fan. If Tennessee's smart, and I think they are, they don't have to let Iamaleava win this game. They'll be able to line up and run the ball on us. They could run. They ran when they had to win that game against Florida. I was impressed how they just smashed them and got it in the end zone in overtime. they'll be able to do that all they want on Saturday. And guys, there's some money to be. The only good news is there's some money to be made. Last week I got South Carolina plus 21.5. That was easy money. And now I'm getting Tennessee with a field goal, and I've already placed that bet. I've got the money on that one. But I've looked at the casino. I'm considering going and buying the line down and getting Tennessee and laying. I'm going to lay 2.5. And I think I get like plus 150 on the bet. And I think it's going to be easy money. I'm considering putting some real money on it. Guys, I'm looking at something like 42.
Will you say that again, AJ? You said 42 to what?
42 to 21, Tennessee.
Ooh.
They're going to be able to do whatever they want to do. And it scares me to death, but I might as well make some money on it.
AJ,
Right
you
now,
said you are an Alabama fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Guys, my money is separate from my fanhood, okay?
That's a smart man right there.
Smart.
Me betting on Alabama isn't going to make us be able to cover their receivers, and me betting on Alabama isn't going to make them be able to stop the run, which I don't think they're going to be able to do. I think Milroe will get some, but they've got some defense. I mean, I was impressed with. I don't think Tennessee's far off. I realize they lost Arkansas and Florida was tough, but they weren't far off. I mean, Iamaleava is missing throws by 8 inches in their touchdowns. And we're missing all kinds of stuff. I mean, we look like 8th graders, if you want my opinion. So might as well make some money on this thing. What do you guys think about that? You think it's easy money? I think it's easy money.
I don't think it's easy money, but I definitely believe that my philosophy is anytime there's a home team in the SEC, especially one of the upper tier programs, and they're getting points at home, it is very difficult for me not to take them in those points at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's me. And I'm doing this for a living instead of, living in Las Vegas. So. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it very much.
All right. Now let's kind of decompress this a little bit.
Hey,
Says he's an Alabama
he said it with
fan.
his chest.
42 to 21.
That's what he said.
Like, come on, dog.
So I just did a refresh here. So Bama is a 3-point favorite currently.
Mm-hmm.
Totals 57. But this is the line that I have not paid a lot of attention to it. But it continues to go down. Auburn is now only a 3.5-point underdog.
Yeah, that one started out at 7.5, I think, when it opened up.
And it just has continued to go down every day. Now, again, there was a couple of defensive players for Missouri was announced earlier this week. They have been lost for the season. Those are mid-level guys, but they're depth guys. Defensive lineman and a linebacker out for the year for Mizzou. So maybe that had something to do with the line movement, but I don't know. But that many points, it's kind of odd. More of your calls. The text line is open, 205-834-9450. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. Taking your calls on this Football Friday, 1-800-239-WJOX. We got a bold prediction for the weekend. What's your thoughts on Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Mizzou, Texas, and Georgia? We'd love to hear from you, 1-800-239-WJOX. Saturday's Georgia-Texas game is already outselling last year's best-selling regular season game, according to StubHub, by 22%. The best game of the year last year, 22% better than the best-selling game last year, according to StubHub. This will be Kirby Smart's 117th game as a coach for the Bulldogs. He's been favored in 105 of the 117 games that Georgia has suited up and played. He's been an underdog 11 times. As an underdog under Kirby Smart, Georgia is 4-7 straight up, but 7-4 against the spread. This would be Georgia's first game as a road dog, not a neutral site dog, since facing Alabama at Bryant-Denny in 2020.
Yeah, I want to say this is it was like 48, 49 straight games that they were favored in up until this matchup tomorrow. So they've got their work cut out for them, but also this is going to be by far the biggest test for Texas. So I think it's going to be a great game.
Well, here's a little interesting perspective of this game. So Colin Cowherd, who is a national sports talk show host, he's got an interesting take. Take a listen to what Colin Cowherd had to say about this Texas football team. All right, so what do you think? Do you agree with that? Disagree?
Look, there's no doubt about it that Texas is one of the best teams and one of the best programs right now. You've played Mississippi State and Oklahoma with a backup quarterback and their top 5 wide receivers out with injury. That is your SEC experience so far. And it doesn't change the fact that, yeah, they did go to Bryant-Denny last year and win that game, and that was very impressive. Just like it'll be very impressive if they beat Georgia tomorrow. But to sit here and crown a team as the king of the SEC after 2 games in which you've played potentially the 2 worst teams in the conference right now. Look, I've had a lot of respect for Colin Cowherd over the years. I can tell you right now, this dude does not watch SEC football. No. That if you have listened to his takes on college football, he is great when it comes to the NFL and the NBA. He does not know what he's talking about when it comes to college football, and that has been readily apparent for years now.
Right, like what does the economy got to do with anything? We talking about on the field.
He thinks USC is the pinnacle of college football because he lives out there in Los Angeles. Like
I think the other parallel, not putting words in his mouth, but I think what he was trying to get at about the car dealership thing is that Isaiah Bond decided to go to Austin, and what was the first thing he did? Yeah.
Is he driving that Lamborghini now, though? Because I'm pretty sure he's driving a Bronco now, which is still a nice car, but
big bank.
I don't think they gave him the keys.
But
to
I think what he's
Lamborghini.
trying to say is Austin is an up and coming. It's a happening city, and if you had your comparison of potentially going and playing football in Austin, Texas, as he said, Starksville, Mississippi, Starksville, Mississippi, or Tuscaloosa, everyone would choose Austin.
Okay, how many national championships has Texas won?
One in my lifetime.
Interesting. Same here.
Yeah, I mean, this completely changes how I'm going to analyze football moving forward because I didn't realize I had to look at Fortune 500 companies that were within a certain mile radius of the campus to determine who's the best program.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it is what it is, but Alabama is not known for its Fortune 500 hub here in the great state of Alabama. But
no, we win football games and national championships.
Yeah, Alabama and Auburn's done pretty well.
Attaboy.
So goes without saying. All right, back to the phones.
Where Colin was right and where Colin was wrong. That's his favorite segment. Well, where Colin's wrong sometimes. All right, let's go to Glenn in Colorado. Wants to talk about Alabama, Tennessee. What's up, Glenn?
Hey guys, happy Friday to you.
Hey Glenn.
Hey, I'm still sticking to my preseason prediction that Nebraska's going to do great. I think they win this game. I think they're going to be in the top 20 before the season ends. I still think Georgia's going to win 2 or 3. Not sure about Saturday, but I can see Texas winning. Auburn, I want to say this. I think Missouri is a fraud. It's just the way I see them. I think Auburn wins that game 12-10. And the Bama game, so here's my question about Bama.
12-10. Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I see Auburn winning that game by just 2 points. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Of course, if Missouri wins by 50 points, I probably won't call Monday, so just keep that on your list.
Okay, I understand.
So here's the thing. If the refs are going to allow Tennessee to knock our quarterback 2 or 3 times after the play and not get penalized, then Tennessee is going to win the game. Kind of like going back to Bryce when he got hit twice.
Yep.
No penalty flag.
Yeah, there was one in particular that was bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know ball like you guys know it, but I do think Bama's out for revenge, especially for what happened to Bryce. And I do want to say this. I want to get your take. I think being in a day game goes in Bama's favor than being at night. What do you guys think?
So you think it benefits Alabama that the game is at 2:30 instead of at night?
I do, because think about it. If I know the Bama players will be ready, but as you guys play that clip, if I had to walk in that stadium, which I never have, at night and see nothing but puke orange, I think I would just shrivel up and die. It is the most awful color on the spectrum. It's horrible. But I do think that Womack's gotten the message. I do believe they're going to find a way to be able to tackle more on the inside, which has been a big, huge liability. And like we all know, I think 2 + 4 is going to be a huge, huge day for Ryan and Milroe. Milroe knows he's got you have 1 or 2 games a season to really make an impact for the Heisman race. And if Bama really shows up and Milroe shows up, it's going to be lights out. So I think Bama takes it.
All right, Glenn. We always appreciate your call. Have a great weekend there in the great state of Colorado. More 3-man front on this Football Friday. This is Jocks 94.5. 1248 Jocks 94.5. Another great segment we have each and every week. UAB Medicine, Sports and Exercise Medicine. They sponsor Road to Recovery right here on Jocks 94.5. And joining us now on the Buyers Right Hotline, Dr. Matt Mish joins us here on the program. Dr. Mish, I hope you're doing well on this Friday.
Yeah, doing good. Just finished morning clinic and happy to hop on with you guys. So I really appreciate you guys having me.
Oh, not a problem at all. The first question I have for you, and we saw him back on the field last week for Texas, and I'm going to ask you about the oblique because Quinn Ewers went down about 3 weeks ago, and he was held out for a couple of games, and then he came back. And it looked like he was still kind of favoring that a little bit, and now they're playing Georgia this weekend. Just want to get your thoughts on the oblique, and for someone like that coming back and playing in that position, how difficult is it to overcome that type of injury? And I guess what kind of moving forward, will he have any kind of relapse potentially?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't know if that was coincidence or you guys did homework, but I take care of I'm the head team doc for our baseball team, so I see the oblique injuries all the time.
Right.
It's a little bit less common in football, but at the same time, especially a quarterback with kind of that thorax or torso movement, especially with rapid or quick movements, you can kind of induce a strain or whatnot. And I didn't see the official MRI or anything, but like you had said, from speculation, what it looked like, they called it a muscle strain. And if it's that grade 1, grade 2, where you have just a little bit of kind of muscle fiber irregularity or whatnot, you would go through the same kind of return to play protocol like any type of muscle strain. And so what that means is eventually that will heal to its fullest, but rest is going to be the best thing, which is most difficult to treat in season. And so by giving him those rest periods, whether it was, I'm not sure if it was the 2 or 3 weeks, right? He might still be favoring that side, but it's going to be something that he's going to have to play through that pain every week for the rest of the year, likely. Unless you had a prolonged period of rest, whether that be 4 to 8 weeks, it also depends on the grade. But you treat that with your anti-inflammatories. Usually that side of the rib cage is good with some topical anti-inflammatories. You get them in with your team PT or athletic trainer and let them kind of go through simulations of what he would be doing on the field and in the pocket to try and induce things. And it's kind of a ramp up slowly. You think of that protocol with a return to play with concussion protocol going through the steps, but it can be similar with a muscle strain. And then once you get back into that kind of 1 to 3, I like to tell my patients mild pain range, you give it a go. Anything above that 4 to 10, that's probably when the head team physicians for Texas were saying, we hold back until you're either at a 0 or 1 to 3. But yeah, hopefully that answers that.
Talking with Dr. Matt Mish from UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine, joining us here for Road to Recovery on 3-Man Front. So something that's been a big topic of conversation in college football this season specifically is, I guess, faking injuries, players going down on the field and maybe doing so in a way that's advantageous to kind of halt momentum more so than an actual injury occurring on the field. So I just kind of wanted to get your take on that situation going on in college athletics now. And is there maybe a potential solution or a way that college athletics can look to get this problem fixed in the near future?
Yeah, I think, that's always a common thing. And it's almost on the sportsmanship or in the sportsmanship chapter per se than the medical chapter.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
You can look at it in multiple ways, whether it's the coach or the trainer or myself. I'll be the most politically correct and say that every time someone goes down, I'm going to treat it as an actual injury, the cry wolf scenario. And you always see, or at least you usually always see, the athletic trainer taking a couple steps faster than the team physician to walk out there. And that's, usually whether they'll give the eye and you give them respect. And if the athletic trainer kind of calls us out, then we move a little bit faster or whatnot. But that definitely plays true to the scenario you were talking about. And obviously going through my same protocols, same steps, making sure they can get up. You don't do your thorough evaluation on the field exactly because you want to give them privacy, go back to the tent, see how they feel with that. And then as far as whether or not that's real or not, he bounces up and says, I'm okay. It's not my call. My job is to say whether or not that was legitimate or not. It's whether or not he can get back in the game. So that's my green light or red light. And I try and stay pretty black or white when it comes to that. As far as changing the rules, yeah, I'll leave that up to the NCAA people or whoever's going to control the Big Ten and SEC moving forward. But,
that's more like it.
Yeah. It's definitely a topic of interest, and whether or not that's how they do with the timeouts under the certain thing or penalties. But it's a tough thing, especially when I come home and sit on the couch and watching a team as opposed to being on the sidelines. You look at it in two different ways.
Certainly do. Dr. Mish, the remaining moments we have with you, I wanted to get your thoughts on, so when the NFL, they actually have somebody during every NFL game, they can buzz down to the white cap if they view that there has been a player that potentially needs to be checked out for concussion protocol. I know every circumstance is different, whether someone is acting a certain way or they're just getting up after a certain hit, maybe to the head area. When those guys are upstairs and they're watching that play, what would be the first sign in regards to at least trying to get somebody on the sideline to check out an individual for concussion protocol?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, I've been a spotter for UAB football at what time, because the NCAA also requires that as well. And there's instant replay up there, and so you see a big hit, you hear a big crack, you are just like all the other fans, with the ooh wah. And then we take a look at it a little bit farther. If you see, just like on replay on TV, like a helmet to helmet, that's one way. But from an overall symptom thing, from when a patient or athlete goes down, that ataxic kind of movement. It's the wobbly gait. It's the boxer getting hit in the head. Any signs that they look like that they got their bell rung, for lack of better words, that's when you definitely want to go down and have whoever is on the sidelines talk to them, ask if they're okay, ask if they have any symptoms and whatnot. And if it was big enough hit and they, pass all the flying colors, a lot of times you take the helmet and redo it again in 15 minutes just to make sure, because you have a number of athletes come back and say, actually, I'm starting to feel some symptoms and whatnot. So, yeah, that's what we look out for, and just kind of that wobbly or ataxic kind of thing that the NFL talks about.
That is Dr. Matt Mish joins us, UAB Sports and Exercise Medicine, joining us here on 3-Man Front Road Recovery. Dr. Mish, I hope you have a nice weekend. Thanks for your time and some great information for us.
No problem at all. Thanks to you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. That is Matt Mish, Dr. Matt Mish, joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline for your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. Very important to have that eye in the sky, taking a look at certain hits. Kobe Prentice had that happen a couple of weeks ago in the Vanderbilt game, where you could tell as soon as he got hit that he was going to be on the sideline.
Yeah, anytime that you see somebody react in a similar way to how we've seen, Tua, when he's got his concussions and your body kind of clenches up like that, it's a very scary thing. But thankfully, it looks like he has made a full recovery. But that's gonna be a big one. I like how he played it safe with the faking injuries one, though, because again, obviously there's nothing that he can do to solve the issue, but it's we know one guy here in the SEC that's a big fan of it. So.
Coming up next, we're going to talk a little high school football. That's right. We're going to talk to Kyle Parmalee from Stearns Media. Playoffs right around the corner. Who needs to clinch tonight? We'll talk to him next on 3-Man Front. It is 1 o'clock here on this Football Friday. Thanks for tuning us in. Wimp Sanderson, Mike Rodak, Barrett Sallee. You just heard Dr. Mish joining us. UAB's Road to Recovery segment here each and every Friday on Three Man Front. Landrum Roberts, Molly Robinson will be back with us in studio on Monday. We're going to talk a little high school football now on the Buyers Ride Hotline. Kyle Parmalee from Starnes Media joins us every Friday at this time to kind of give us a preview of what to look for tonight. Kyle, needless to say, it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty with a lot of playoff spots on the line, but I want to start with the big one as Homewood and Parker are playing tonight. Let's start there on the big ones on the board.
Yeah, good to be with you guys. It's one of these things where, Gary Lloyd and I laid out this plan on our Under the Lights podcast this week. We would have loved to have spread out all these region title games tonight. Maybe a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday. I mean, wouldn't that have been great? I mean,
that would have been fantastic. Yeah.
But so you're talking, in our coverage area tonight, we've got 3 games that will decide their region titles. And you mentioned one of them, Homewood and Parker. It's going to be a charged atmosphere at Waldrop Stadium tonight. I think it'll be you'll have a good crowd. Homewood's band is going to make life difficult on just about anybody that shows up, because if you haven't seen Homewood's band, they are incredible. I think it takes up like half the bleachers. But on the field, I think Parker is the clear favorite. That team is they've only lost once this year, and it's to that Central Carrollton team out of Georgia that's really, really good. It's the Parker team that's beaten Hoover already this year. So Homewood has absolutely got their work cut out for them. Good news on the Homewood front. Starting quarterback Will Myers went out with an injury a couple weeks ago against Gardendale. They had the bye week last week. He's back. He's ready to go. So all hands on deck for Homewood as they try to win a region title against Parker tonight. But I think the visiting team definitely has the edge heading in.
So Kyle, I wanted to ask you, go back to last night really quick if we can, because I know you were there for Mountain Brook and Huffman. I understand Mountain Brook had a big win, but just kind of what you saw from the Spartans last night and kind of where their playoff situation lies right now in their region.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, Mountain Brook played Pinson Valley, and you kind of thought that they would cruise past Pinson just based on the matchup on paper, but Pinson Valley really competed well in that game. I think the final score was like 47-30.
Oh yeah, we were having fun in that press box that night.
I know. Pinson returns a couple kickoffs. They really they brought it to Mountain Brook. So I think the message from head coach Chris Yeager certainly got through, because they went out to Huffman last night and absolutely took care of business, left no doubt. Rolled up 42 points in the first half and went on from there to win. But this Mountain Brook team, 6-3 overall. It looks like they're going to be the number 3 team out of that region, unless something crazy goes on otherwise over the next couple weeks. But Mountain Brook looking good for a 9th straight playoff bid, probably going on the road in the first round to somewhere in that kind of northeast Alabama area, Fort Payne, Gadsden City, Southside, somebody like that. So we'll see. But, yeah, good win for them last night.
All right, let's go to 7A, where tonight down in Alabaster, Thompson and Hoover both 6-2 overall, but they're undefeated in the very difficult Region 3. Kind of handicap this one for us, as the winner of this game pretty much will have the region title sewed up.
Yeah, I think this game is – I think the one unit that really is going to decide this game in my mind is Hoover's offense, because we've seen Hoover's offense play really well at times this year. I think back to even the Spain Park loss early in the year. I thought Hoover's offense was electric and dynamic. And then you think about some of the games, like the Parker game that they lost, Hoover's offense was virtually shut down the whole game. And even the Hewitt-Trussville game, you saw both of those. Hoover's offense couldn't do anything for 3 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, it finally clicks a little bit. So we'll see. I mean, we had quarterback Mac Beeson on the podcast with us this week, and you could tell the teams, they're fired up. They're excited about this game. I kind of see this a lot like the Hewitt-Trussville-Thompson game we saw a couple weeks ago, where both defenses are going to be the superior units in this ball game. It's going to come down to some big plays, who turns the ball over, who makes the special teams play, that I think is really going to decide the winner of this one.
Kyle Parmalee from Starnes Media joining us here on Three Man Front, as he does every Friday, to preview tonight's high school football action around the state. So, Kyle, we have a battle of 2 unbeaten teams tonight. A really big game going on as Clay Chalkville is traveling over to Oxford. Two 7-0 teams, Kyle. How do you see this one playing out tonight?
Yeah, this is going to be a whole lot of fun to see how it shakes out. Clay Chaltville has very much looked like the defending state champion, a team capable of doing that again. They got a tough test from Mountain Brook a couple weeks ago, but this Cougars team looks really strong. The thing that impresses me the most is that even with losing some of the star power from last year, this Clay Chaltville defense is just so good. They don't give up anything. And I think one of the things I really want to see tonight is how effective Oxford's offense will be, because we saw them when they played Mountain Brook. Mountain Brook's defense controlled that game largely until the later going, when Oxford scored 2 touchdowns late in the game, and then went for 2, got the big win. But this Mason Mims to Nick Richardson connection for Oxford has been a huge thing for them all year. They connected for 3 touchdowns against Mountain Brook. If Nick Richardson can get open and Mason Mims can find him tonight, Oxford will have something going. I lean Clay Chaltville in this one, but I think it's going to be a really good game tonight.
So last week, Chelsea and Spain Park trying to get the inside track for that region in 6A. And Spain Park came out with the victory against Chelsea. Now Chelsea and Helena are doing battle tonight. Talk a little bit about that game and what is at stake for those two teams.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, this matchup of two teams that were 6-0 coming in. It was a big deal. But Spain Park was clearly the better team. And I don't think that diminishes anything that Chelsea has put out on the field so far. But on the same token, Chelsea's schedule is certainly backloaded when it comes to the region. Chelsea's got Helena tonight, which is going to be another tough test. But I do recall, I was talking to head coach Todd Cassidy after their loss last week, and I kind of asked him, like, hey, 6-0, you guys haven't had to deal with a loss yet. How do you guys feel like you're going to rebound? And he basically just laughed and was like, he didn't say this explicitly, but he was like, do you realize how much we've lost the last 2 years? We're going to bounce back just fine. They've really had a tough time in 7A, so getting the drop down to 6A, start out 6-0 has been good for them. So we'll see. Tough test against Helena tonight, Benjamin Russell next week. I think Chelsea still looks good for the playoffs, but they got 2 tough ones coming up. And then on the Spain Park side, they're hosting Calera tonight. Spain Park wins tonight. They'll go to 8-0, and they would lock up that region. So I think the Jags are going to be able to do that.
All right, Kyle, how about another game we have coming up tonight? This is a team right from around my neck of the woods, as you have John Carroll going to play corner tonight, a 6-1 corner team. Kind of tell us what you think about this game and what some of the implications might be.
The biggest implication in this game, as far as our coverage area, Briarwood's playoff hopes hinge on the result of this game, more or less. And you look at it, Briarwood really needs John Carroll to beat corner, is essentially what needs to happen tonight to keep Briarwood alive in the playoff hunt. Now, you look at it, John Carroll 2-6, corner 6-1. It looks like a bit of a mismatch, but I'm telling you, John Carroll played their best game of the year last week against Briarwood. Even though they lost, John Carroll jumped out 14-0 in that game early, led virtually the entire way until the end when Briarwood put together a game-winning drive and won. And I'll tell you, I've seen John Carroll a couple times this year. The team I saw early in the year and the team I saw last week aren't even the same team. John Carroll has improved so much, so big credit to Will Mara and his staff for making that happen. And this corner team, they're 6-1. They've been on a roll so far this year, but they've got a few injuries to the key players, so something to look out for tonight. John Carroll will be at home at Pat Sullivan Field, and they definitely have reason to believe that they'll be able to compete in this ballgame. Anything
else, Kyle, that's on your radar for this evening in the Metro Birmingham area in high school?
Yeah, if you look at a couple of 7A Region 3 games, Hewitt-Trussville's got Oak Mountain tonight, and Vestavia Hills has got Tuscaloosa County tonight. If both of those games go how we expect, if Hewitt wins, if Vestavia wins, your Region 3 playoff picture is all but set up. I think there's still some things that could happen if Thompson beats Hoover in terms of seeding, but I think we got a pretty good idea who those Region 3 playoff teams are going to be, and I don't know that it probably doesn't come as a shock to many of us.
Well, we'll see what happens tonight on the gridiron. Let's see what. I'm not going to put that cart before the horse.
They play them for a reason, right?
Absolutely, and the coaches will give me because they listen to this segment every week, and I'm on the field prior to the game, and they have a few interesting things. They don't like you, by the way, Kyle. Just want to tell you that.
Man, That's too bad.
Sorry, didn't know if they prefer Gary Lloyd covering their games. Just
Don't
saying.
we all?
No, I'm
Don't we all?
just kidding. They love you. You know that. You know you love the barbecue. You love Miss Parr's food upstairs. So come on and see us when you get a chance. That is Kyle Parmalee, best in the business, covering high school football. Him and Gary Lloyd with Starnes Media. Enjoy the football tonight, Kyle, and I'll see you soon.
Hey, it's going to be fun. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. That's Kyle Parmalee joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline for all your insurance, financial, and HR needs. It's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner.
Well, if you consider yourself to be a bourbon connoisseur, you need to head into Twin Peaks and Hoover all throughout this month of October because they are proud to offer you an exclusive and extensive collection of incredibly rare bourbons, whiskeys, and tequilas. Plus, they're even offering their barrel selects, which are hand-selected by the team there in Hoover just for you. So stop on by all throughout the month of October to Twin Peaks and Hoover to see what they can pour up for you.
More of your calls and your texts as well on the Courtesy GMC text line at 205-834-9450. Go ahead, turn your mic on. Let America see you dancing to Taylor Swift. Go ahead.
Nah.
No, do it.
We got a game tomorrow. Got to lock in. T Swizzle does probably make a playlist appearance when you're working out.
You missed an easy opportunity there because Pat apparently knows who this song is.
Yeah, I mean, he right. He a big T-Swizzle guy.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
I respect her. Great entertainer.
There's a start.
Yeah. We got college football tonight starting at 6 o'clock. Florida State 1-5, 1-4 in the ACC, taking on the Duke Blue Devils.
Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they mailed the season in a long time ago.
Yeah, they're still playing. Seminoles are an underdog for the first time ever versus Duke. I brought this up on the show yesterday. They have never lost to the Blue Devils. They are 22-0.
First time for everything.
Against Florida State. What a crazy year of football when Duke will beat Florida State tonight and Vanderbilt beat Alabama.
Pays to be smart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much. At 7 o'clock, number 2 Oregon is at Purdue, West Lafayette, Indiana.
Upset alert?
No.
No? Anybody?
No.
No.
The Boilermakers are struggling. They're number 123 nationally in total defense.
Oh, boy.
And number 106 in total offense.
They've been saving it.
But they played within 1 point of number 22 Illinois last week.
And that was weird because that game was, 50-49, I think?
It should have been over a long time ago, but Illinois kind of took their foot off the gas.
Well, yes.
All right, so no letdown tonight?
No.
I don't think so.
Absolutely not.
As much as I am all for chaos, now Purdue 7-8 years ago, maybe.
All right, so that's a pretty good start. 6 o'clock, get to see the dismantling, FSU Dave, of your Seminoles against Duke. And then at 7 o'clock, you got the Ducks in West Lafayette, Indiana. It's kind of a weird matchup. Then at 9:15, you've got Oklahoma State, 3-3, winless in the Big 12. They're 0-3. They're taking on number 13 BYU, who is 6-0, 3-0 in the Big 12. Mike Gundy's Cowboys haven't won since September the 14th, while BMU has climbed the polls each and every week. When these two teams last met in November, the Cowboys won in double overtime. This time around, though, the Cougs are a 9.5-point favorite tonight.
So you're telling me I need to cancel my anniversary dinner with my wife so I can be locked in for Oklahoma State BYU tonight?
Watch the Fighting Mormons against the Fighting Gundys. Yes, that should be a good one. 9:15. Then
is he gonna have a black eye?
He's probably gonna wear sunglasses.
He'll wear sunglasses. Yeah, that's true.
And then just when you thought, oh, well, my football viewing pleasure is over for the evening. No. Not on Friday night. It's Mountain West After Dark, my friends.
Let's go.
9:30, Fresno State, 3-3, 1-1 in the Mountain West, takes on Nevada.
Oh, yeah.
The Wolfpack, 3-4, 1-1. You can catch all the wonderful play-by-play action on the CBS Sports Network.
That's my favorite
at
channel.
9:30 tonight.
There we go. So a full slate on Friday night, baby.
Listen, with so much going on with the Major League Baseball playoffs, the Guardians and the Yankees, that's a 7 o'clock first pitch this afternoon. In about 2.5 hours, you've got the Dodgers trying to get back to the World Series as they try to shut down the Mets and get rid of the New York Metropolitans out of the playoffs. So, and then you got all that football I just talked about. What a night.
What a night. I was about to say, and all the high school football we just talked about with Kyle Parmley. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And you get to start with Auburn at 11 and then Alabama at 2:30.
Come on.
I mean, it's a.
And I'm about to give you another example of why we live in the greatest country in the world. Okay. There's a million examples, but here's just another one that you can put on top of the cord of firewood. Okay. Pittsburgh announced today that Tennessee senior deputy AD Alan Green will be the new school's athletic director.
There we go.
Okay.
He's the former AD at Auburn and Buffalo. He's also worked twice at Ole Miss and for 7 years at Notre Dame. I bring this up because Green infamously hired Brian Harsin at Auburn. If you remember back, he said he met Harsin at an athletic leadership conference in 2015. For some reason, they were in a pool at that said event, and that's when they struck up a conversation. Why are you looking at me that way, Damien? Why are you rolling your eyes?
It's just a strange encounter.
It's just two dudes in a pool. What's wrong with that?
Two guys in the hot tub sitting, a couple feet apart because it's fine.
They struck up a
Hot
conversation.
tubs aren't typically very big, Damien. You just kind of got to fit where you can.
And then that parlayed him to being a head coach in the SEC.
They struck up a.
They what?
They what?
They struck up a conversation. It's a weird circumstance, I know.
Extremely.
But Harsin made a lasting impression nonetheless.
Oh, boy.
Guess you could say it was just a stroke of luck.
Possibly so. So Brian Harsin gets hired at Auburn because of this chance meeting in 2015 with Alan Green. Now, Alan Green, he resigned at Auburn in August of 2022.
Yeah, as he should. As he should have.
And that did not bode well for Brian Harsin.
No, it did not. It did not.
So that just proves to you how America is the greatest country in the world, how someone like Alan Green would bump into an individual at a swimming pool party and hire him as a football coach. And now Brian Harsin is sitting in Boise, Idaho, drinking coffee and posting smart-ass Twitter comments every time Auburn loses a football game.
And collecting checks.
Yeah, and he's a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
Thanks to Alan Green.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to tell Pat Narduzzi, like, hey, just be careful.
I was about to say, yeah.
Be safe.
Take a look over your shoulder. You never know who might pop up.
Watch out for the pool.
I mean, is that not nuts?
It's insane. He levels up, man. Hey, congratulations. Maybe the SEC just wasn't Alan Green's cup of tea. So take his talents to the ACC.
Do you think the Tennessee Athletic Department will now suffer greatly because Alan Green is no longer an associate AD?
I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah, not so much. I gave the stat the other day, and some people texted in, and they were asking me to repeat it, and I will. Underdogs in SEC conference games, they're 18-6 against the spread so far this season.
Pretty good.
Best mark of any conference in college football. Those dogs are 13-3 against the spread in the last 3 weeks.
What is that I'm smelling? Is that a trend?
That is a big time trend. When you've got an example of 24 games and 18 of the 24 have gone to the underdog against the spread.
Do you have in front of you how many were outright wins?
I do not.
I would just be curious to see that's
insane.
That is an outstanding number, though.
You ain't lying.
All right, so talking about underdog, let's talk about Alabama, Tennessee for a second. So being a home underdog is a role that has not been very friendly to Tennessee. Dating back to 2020, Damien, the Volunteers are 1-7 straight up and 2-6 against the spread as a home dog. In that span, that straight up mark is the second worst of any SEC team, just ahead of Auburn. Auburn is 0-9.
Something about that orange.
Okay.
After nearly losing to South Carolina at home last week, Bama has lost 3 straight against the spread at home for the first time since 2017. Bama has now lost 4 in a row against the spread.
Yeah, it's not.
And so now Bama hits the road as a favorite.
Oh, boy.
Well, that aligns with what we've said. This is a good team, but it's not a great team because it can't cover.
Exactly.
Now, Tennessee coach Josh Heupel, he's coached in college football for 6 years.
He has
Central
indeed.
Florida.
He has.
And obviously now Tennessee. In that span, his teams are 51, 24, and 2 against the first half spread.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Here we go.
He is the most profitable against the spread of 305 head coaches. That includes a mark of 28-9-1 first half against the spread away from home.
Okay. So now hit me with the curveball. I'm here for it.
There's no curveball.
Oh,
I'm giving you some hope here.
Yeah. What about those second half numbers? If you have,
I don't have them.
Okay, that's good. You're good. You're good. It's fine.
But in the last 2 weeks, Tennessee has been shut out.
Yeah.
In the first half.
How long did it take y'all to score last week, Damien?
Who was y'all?
42 minutes.
Who was y'all?
42 minutes. Thank you.
Who was y'all?
42 minutes.
Look on your chest.
Oh, Tennessee. I thought you were talking about the Titans. Whenever I hear Tennessee, I thought y'all were talking.
Well, neither team can score right now, so maybe just a trend there.
You want another trend throw out there for those that's trying to make some investment opportunity choices
Hit us.
for today? So far this season, we've had 127 games with a total of 60 or more.
Okay.
127 games, 60 or more points. Those games are 83 and 44 to the under. The under has hit 65.4% of the time in those games that went above 60 on the total, according to right before kickoff.
So just lower scoring games, generally speaking,
Yes.
this year. Okay.
Because wasn't Ole Miss and LSU like, what, 62?
Sounds right.
Something like that,
62.
yeah.
And that was a super under.
This is the best start for the unders for totals of 60 plus in the last 20 years. Like we have not seen numbers like this in 20 years.
That's a trend.
Now, in the last 5 years, entering 2024, unders were above 500 in games with a total of 60 or more. They're 54.6% to the under by 1.6 points per game and almost 3,000 game sample size. So this is
It's a good sample size.
Yeah, this is more than
like,
just a trend.
Right. This is
more
facts.
spray painting it on the wall type stuff.
Yeah.
Now, are you guys buying the Iowa State stuff yet? Do you think Campbell's got this thing? Is he making the college football playoff? Or you got to believe it to see it?
I got to believe it to see it.
Yeah, I'm still not there. I think they're solid.
Right.
And I will say for Coach Campbell specifically, like I am happy because, I mean, he has gone from being one of the hottest commodities in college football coaching circles to essentially a dumpster fire. I mean, was it last year when he was like getting into it with fans walking into the stadium and it was just, it got ugly. And so now for him to have that success again, I know it makes Brock Purdy happy. So that's good for them, but it's Iowa State, man. I mean,
Right.
But if you like to play them from a Vegas perspective, they've won their last 5 consecutive games against the spread.
Whew.
Like where your head's at, Pat.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How about this? This is the first straight up and against the spread win streak of 5 or more games for Iowa State in 30 years.
Shout out to the Cyclones, baby.
So there's some people in Iowa that's
they actually
making some money.
Yeah, they're students. That's who it is.
Yeah, they're football players.
They're football players. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and as we talked about it, Gus is he benched KJ. He's starting a freshman quarterback on the road. Lost 3 games in a row. It sets up real well for Iowa State, but are any of us going to be surprised if the Gus bus rolls in and wins by 10?
Well, I know Bama haters listening. Bama hater never listens. I mean, never misses a moment of this show.
Oh, well, why would he?
And if he does, he goes back and he podcasts it at least twice.
There we go.
Just to listen to it. But from a betting perspective, Miami has lost 2 consecutive games against the spread. They remain undefeated. That's the most important thing. They're ranked number 6 in America. Top 10 teams on the against the spread losing streak of 2 or more games are 27, 34. That's 44.3% this season. Over a full season, the against the spread winning percentage would be the 3rd worst of any season since 2000. Now, you were talking to someone off the air a couple hours ago, and they were telling you how the public has been taking a bath.
Yeah.
From a Vegas perspective.
It ain't pretty. I got to bet responsibly, people.
That's right. Got to be smart. Got to be very, very smart. Here are your undefeated teams to cover this season, if you're interested. I'm sorry, cover the over. My bad. To cover the over. Miami is 6-0. UConn is 6-0.
Ooh.
Ball State is 6-0.
Oh, boy.
Navy is 5-0. Now, there's been one team that has not won a game on the under this year, and that's Houston, 0-6. They're a pretty bad football team.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
But at least I know to bet the over in Houston. I'm good to go.
Yeah, you sitting pretty.
Army is one of 3 schools that remain undefeated against the spread this season, entering week 7 along with Marshall and BYU, with just Army and BYU sitting undefeated both straight up and against the spread. BYU's playing tonight. Last year, Penn State and Oklahoma were the lone 6-0 straight up against the spread teams to start the season. Army is the second service academy school to accomplish this feat since 1990, with Air Force back in 2002, starting 6-0 straight up and against the spread. So just wanted to share a little bit of knowledge, little fun facts and figures for you as you start figuring out what you're going to do in the office football pool, Damien.
Right. Like when you start seeing me with a couple chains on, just understand I had a good weekend. Had a great
Sound
weekend.
like Landrum after he placed a $15 bet.
$15, yeah.
15.
Big money, $15.
Hey, betting responsibly.
That's right.
That's it. Hey,
that's right.
A win is a win.
No doubt. When we come back on Three Man Front, we'll do some Pat Ponders as we get you closer to the Paul Feinbaum Show at the 2 o'clock hour. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5.
Pearl Jam, right?
It's going to be a great segment when GNR starts playing. That's right. Guns N' Roses, who played at the Birmingham race course in the infield in a absolutely a quagmire, a mud pit.
Damien thought this was Pearl Jam.
No, I did not.
Did you know that was Guns N' Roses?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yes.
Do you buy that? The suit's in here now, Ryan Haney. We got to be on our best behavior.
Yeah.
Sounds dialed in.
Well, I'm trying to figure out with, Fridays are crazy like they are, and getting all these texts about the young one, the 13, the 8th grader, the middle schooler, and trying to how everything's going to work this afternoon.
Oh.
Nothing like about an hour and 20-minute notice.
Helena's at Chelsea tonight, right?
We are at Chelsea, yes. Mm-hmm.
No, I was just confirming that.
Yeah.
That's all. Trying to get.
He just has this look on his face.
Well, I mean, Pat knew that because he was just in my office talking about it. See, Pat and I text each other with score updates throughout the game.
Yes. I depend on his North Shelby County reporting, and I give him East Jefferson County reporting.
He's been trying to rile you up since you got in here, Ryan.
He has.
I mean, all 3 minutes you've been in here, it's just been.
He's good at that.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
He takes.
I don't do
what,
that.
What did one of our listeners say? You just like to take jabs at people.
Take jabs. That's all I do.
Yep.
All right, let's do some Pat Ponders. I think I've got some good ones for you today. Hopefully, you guys will be entertained.
False start on me. That's me.
Brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com. All right, question number 1. In the last 17 games between Alabama and Tennessee, only one Tennessee running back has rushed for over 100 yards.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tennessee's only won one time.
Only one running back has run for over 100 yards. That was Taron Poole. He rushed for 117 back in 2010. As irony would have it, Vol running back Dylan Sampson averages 117 yards a game. How many yards does Alabama yield to Sampson tomorrow afternoon?
Ooh.
I say he runs for 108.
So it doesn't get to his average, but over 100 yards.
Over 100 yards, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard for me. And I think a lot of it, too, is just with some of the limitations that maybe Nico will have in the passing game, as we've seen the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm going to say he gets over 100. I'll go right around, 110, 115, something like that.
But not his average?
No.
Okay.
But over 100.
120. Because I actually think both teams are going to come out and try to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think both teams can run the ball on the other team, especially Alabama and Tennessee. I think there's some opportunities there. So I'm interested to see if both these teams, how patient they will be with the running game, or if they're going to try to make it a track meet.
Isn't that crazy? Only one running back?
Yeah, it is wild.
Has gone over 100 yards against Alabama in this series.
Because I was thinking.
In 17 games.
I was about to say 2022, but then
Did you have Poole as the guy doing it?
I thought I was right. I was like, wait a minute, it's been that long? Okay.
It's crazy. 2010. All right, question number 2. If the Vols go back-to-back in Knoxville with a win against the Tide, do the fans lose their mind and rush the field and tear down the goalposts?
Yes, they do. That would just be the Tennessee way. It's a rivalry game, so I get it, but now I don't think the goalpost ends up in the river or anything like that,
Right.
but just storming the field, yeah.
There will be no goalposts torn down, but I think Alabama's going to win the game. So that, but to answer the question you asked, hypothetically, no, I don't think so. Not this time.
Nah, they'll storm the field, but the goalposts,
They'll keep the goalposts
They should.
upright.
Sidebar, did you think it was a little embarrassing that LSU stormed the field last week against Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was embarrassing.
We say it's embarrassing, but we see the way fans act on social media and message boards and things like that, and people act like that's normal behavior. I mean, are we surprised that people do these things?
That is a good point.
No, not surprised at all. It's just like,
you're LSU.
You're supposed to win this.
You hate my team, Paul. I mean, this is the everyday culture of a lot of the rabid fans, and then we're shocked that people don't pause and stop for a second and get caught up in the euphoria. I'm not saying I like it or agree with it. I'm just like, it's
not
about
a surprise.
par for the course. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Question number 3. Does Kalen DeBoer light up a stogie if the Tide prevails?
He better. Yes.
No,
he's just going to chew on it.
Man.
He'll chew on it for the picture, and
he going to light it up. He's going to light it up. After the way they have been playing these past couple of weeks, probably take a little bit of the edge off.
I mean,
little buzz.
I mean, I know the cigar is tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's up these stakes. Let's say the loser can't play Dixieland Delight for the next year.
Look at you.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that'll put one whole state in peril. Can you imagine?
No, I
likes
can't.
that idea. Conrad doesn't like that idea.
No, I mean, I think.
Is that fair? I mean, the cigar's been done.
Yeah.
Well, you smoke a cigar.
It's just a tradition.
You smoke a cigar.
Oh, yeah, I already got one.
Yeah, he's got Swisher Sweet now, maybe hollowed out.
Oh, come on.
Attaboy.
That wasn't Conrad, my bad.
Attaboy.
No, he's gone. He is gone.
How much did you pay for this stogie?
Yeah.
Oh, $10, $11.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty
Something like that.
decent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go and break the bank.
Damien, will you smoke a cigar when Tennessee beats Alabama?
Absolutely. I got a Romeo and Juliet loaded up. Like, we good to go.
Tennessee. Damien, will you smoke a cigar if Alabama beats Tennessee?
No, I will not.
No.
I thought he was going to say yes.
He did last time.
Because I picked Alabama to win.
Yeah, but you also went with the, well, whoever wins, I get to smoke a cigar. Yeah.
But
I've changed my ways.
You're in a Tennessee shirt today.
I am.
Conrad's in his Alabama, in his game day attire. If Alabama wins, this should be the question. Will Damien show up to work Monday in an Alabama shirt?
Yes.
Alabama shirt.
Yeah.
If Alabama wins?
Yes. 100% you will.
Nah, I'll probably wear like an Auburn one if they win.
I was about to say, it also depends. If Missouri beats Auburn, he's 100% showing up in a Missouri shirt.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know, I keep it classy.
Yeah.
Ryan called me Tua earlier.
Oh,
He ran into me in the hallway. I went, hey,
Tua?
Ryan. He goes, hey, Tua. He's like, oh, my bad. You're Conrad.
I really did.
We do look alike.
Well, I've done it joking around, and I actually meant to say, hey, Conrad.
All right, question number 4. Let's stay on DeBoer. What will Kalen DeBoer wear on the sideline tomorrow?
What's the temperature like?
Yeah, let's see. Let me go look at.
Can we answer the question with a question?
Sure.
Obviously.
Who cares? Like, get over yourselves, people. Hey, ain't wearing a collared shirt. Coach Saban wore a collared shirt. Who cares?
Exactly
Like,
how they
come on.
sound, too.
Let's see, 71 degrees at game time. Maybe a little breeze by the time the game's over. A little chilly. I'm going hoodie again.
Yeah.
I think we get another hoodie.
Is he going black hoodie or a crimson hoodie?
Probably crimson. Probably find him a crimson one.
Yeah, you're undefeated with the hoodie, but you need to change up the colorway because,
right?
You know,
you don't want to go back.
Didn't work out super well last week, but you still won. So yeah, red hoodie.
What if he showed up in a short sleeve white shirt and a tie?
That would be glorious. And in honor of
Would people
Gene
lay
Stallings.
off the guy then?
In honor of Gene Stallings.
No, because he's not wearing a salmon suit pregame like Nick Saban is. That's what the people really want, you know?
I don't see Coach DeBoer on college game day, Paul.
Now, does DeBoer do the whole lap around the field with the state troopers like Saban did?
Ooh, I actually don't know.
I hadn't seen footage.
That's a very good
And then
question.
his wife waiting in the corner like Miss Terry would wait and give Nick a kiss on the cheek?
Yeah,
I don't know. Saban thing.
Sorry to totally derail your segment, but you just kind of came and got me in. But I haven't been on the air since this whole thing about what Kalen DeBoer wears being a big issue, and it clearly drives me crazy. You're an Alabama fan, Conrad. Do you care what the guy wears?
No, I want to be comfortable.
Don't you want the guy to be himself?
I don't care what I wear on a day-to-day basis.
That's obvious.
The best thing that could be, and I understand it's about whether he wins or loses, and if he doesn't win a game, then everything's up for critique. But like, I thought that was the beautiful thing about DeBoer. You got a hell of a football coach, but he's got the exact opposite personality of Nick Saban. Why would you want the same Nick Saban light in there?
And that was a benefit until you lost to Vanderbilt.
Yep.
See, and that's the problem, is at the end of the day, nobody really cares about what he wears. They care that he lost to Vanderbilt, and this is just it's just ammunition. That's all it is. It's people are looking for anything they can possibly say to criticize him because he lost to Vanderbilt. We talked about this the week after Vanderbilt. It's, if you lose to Georgia and beat Vanderbilt, nobody's questioning what you're wearing on the sideline. It's because you lost and who you lost to.
Yep.
I get it, but not that Alabama should ever lose to Vanderbilt. I know, but I think what we're seeing this year with the way it is, and look at some of the struggles Florida State's having some of this, it's a different era of college football now. There's a fine line between 5-1 and 2-4.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What is the ceiling for Auburn with a win tomorrow, and what is their basement if they lose?
Basement can be 3-9, and that's me being generous to the Louisiana Monroe game. And the ceiling, maybe 6. No, I'd say
even with a win. You're saying 6 is the ceiling with a win tomorrow at Mizzou.
Yes.
I would say 7 would be the ceiling. That doesn't mean I think they get there, but I hate hyperbole, but I really, one of you guys said something earlier that made me think about that how important this game really is. Like, it could be the difference in, putting off a little bit of a run, if you will, and just totally hanging it up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think 7 is the win because, yeah, we were talking about that this morning. And you have Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Law Monroe after this. I mean, you reel off 4 straight wins after this because I think, maybe Vanderbilt, but I think Missouri, they're a ranked team. It's on the road, probably the most difficult matchup, at least on paper. So if you can get this one, who's to say you can't get the next 3? And then you got A&M and Alabama to end the season. If you figure some things out offensively, you could split those 2. I don't think 7-5 is going to happen, but I think it's possible. But yeah, I mean, I also agree with Damian. I think if you lose this game, you're looking at 3-9 potentially.
I think it's ceiling 7-5, and I would say 4-8.
All right, next question. Which of these statements best describes Georgia if they beat Texas? Program validation for 2024. Carson Beck legacy cemented. No cracks in the dynasty foundation.
D, grown men barking. I'm on a roll today. I'm just making everybody.
I know, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Program validation for 2024.
I think it's that one.
Carson Beck legacy is cemented, or no cracks in the dynasty foundation.
I say Carson Beck.
You think so?
Yeah, because the running game's not there like it has been. And if he goes on the road, wins that one, I mean, other than one bad quarter at Alabama, he's played pretty solid football with not a lot of help from the running game.
Yeah. He's just got to win a national championship, though. I feel like it's the same. Yeah. It's similar to how maybe people view Bryce, right, at Alabama is. Maybe he's the best quarterback you've ever had, but he never won a championship. Right. So how do you kind of view him compared to – because I think we all agree Carson Beck is substantially more talented than Stetson Bennett, but one guy has 2 championships and one guy has 0. But I think it's validation that even though we lost to Alabama, it's honestly validation you're still the same Georgia, right? Because they haven't been able to beat Alabama under Kirby Smart, but they beat everybody else.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. Program validation.
All right. I'll give you guys a bonus question as we wrap up the week.
Yes. I love when Landrum's not here.
Which is more likely to happen this weekend? Army to trail in a game for the first time this season. They're playing East Carolina. Or Indiana not scoring 40 points versus Nebraska. They've done it in 5 straight games. Indiana has.
Which one's more likely?
More likely to happen this weekend. Army to trail in a game for the first time this season, or Indiana not scoring at least 40 points as they take on Nebraska. They've done it in 5 straight games, the Hoosiers have.
I'll take that one. Nebraska's defense is very, very solid, and if they can just, kind of slow the game down a little bit, Indiana can still win, but
I agree with Conrad, although the other side was very tempting because you could have a fumble return on the first play of the game or a kickoff return or
weird stuff happens all the time. Yeah.
But I actually think Nebraska, Indiana will be lower scoring.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of with that too. I think Nebraska's going to win the ball game anyway. But I'm with Conrad. Nebraska's defense is legit. Now I don't think that they're going to they're not scoring 40. Indiana's not scoring 40 on Nebraska, at least not this year.
All right, I'm going to give you one more bonus.
Let's go.
Oh, man.
See what happens when the boss man is here?
Man, we're getting that C up to a B right now.
There you go. All right, whether it was a Super Bowl or college football national championship, what would you rank as the worst game you've ever watched?
Super Bowl or national championship? I would have said it would have been some of those Super Bowls when we were younger and you get really excited and then it was like 55-7. But that Georgia TCU game was.
Yep.
That one's hard to get out of your mind.
Oh, man.
You go a whole season and the drama that goes on all season, you get through the playoff and then it's over 5 minutes in. I mean, I thought Alabama Notre Dame was bad when we were down there, Pat.
Yep.
That game was over in pregame when you saw Derrick Henry and he was twice the size of everybody else on Notre Dame's roster. But that Georgia TCU game, man. Whew.
Yeah, that one is probably the worst. But to throw another game in the hat there, I think it was the last Super Bowl that Tom Brady won with the Patriots when they played the Rams.
Oh, in Atlanta?
And it was 3-0 going into the third quarter or the fourth quarter, I think.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and New England won 13-3, but that so boring.
Yeah, that was my first thought was the Rams and Patriots Super Bowl that year. And yeah, that Georgia TCU, sweet Jesus. You could take a nap in the first quarter, wake up, and you wouldn't be surprised at the score. Like, oh yeah.
Not at all.
Thanks, Harbaugh.
So let it be written that I gave you guys 7 questions on Friday.
I appreciate it.
How about that? That's today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC and Trustful. Exit 32 off of I-459. Visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com. More 3-man front on this Football Friday. Jocks 94.5. It'll be interesting to see how many times that song is played tomorrow inside Neyland Stadium as Alabama and Tennessee. Third Saturday in October. The fun and frivolity on East Tennessee will be in full display tomorrow. When it comes to plumbing, always have a pro on standby. The Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They're family-owned and operated. They handle everything: faucet repairs, water heater maintenance, commercial plumbing, sewer line repairs, and so much more. One call will do it all. Put this in your phone. Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing, 205-516-4927. Or you can visit them on the web at ironmountainworld.com for a free quote. Big or small, Iron Mountain Drains and Plumbing does it all. ironmountainworld.com. All right, final thoughts, guys, on the game in Columbia. Auburn and Mizzou. Right now, Mizzou, a 3.5-point favorite. That line continues to fall. What do you think, Damian? Auburn, Mizzou.
I'm going with Missouri. I think it'll be a competitive matchup. I am taking Coach Freeze at his word that he is actually going to hand Jarquez Hunter the ball more than 15 times. I am banking that he has over 20 carries. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think Missouri, they're as inconsistent as they've been, they are still, to me, a better team than Auburn right now. And I think Brady Cook is going to find a way to just manage it. And I think Auburn's going to turn the ball over at least one time. So give them an extra possession. I think Missouri wins a close one.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I think maybe even Auburn has the lead at halftime. It's hard for me not to feel like there's going to be a mistake made somewhere in that game, whether it's late in the fourth quarter or, early in the game, but something that ultimately kind of turns the tide for Missouri. And yeah, I think they can keep it close. I think they have a good chance to win. It's just, I need to see them win a game like this before I'm going to pick them to outright win.
Okay. I like Auburn. And the reason I like Auburn is because I'm not really sure about the 100% health of Luther Burden.
Fair.
Who has been banged up.
That is very fair.
Cook has not played the way he's up to. And I think the bye week came at an awesome time for the Auburn Tigers. And I am going with Damian, what he says here about Jarquez Hunter. I think they're going to feed him. If Auburn plays, and I know you can say that about any team, if they play mistake-free like they did in Athens.
Right.
I think Auburn gets out of there with a very, very close win. All right, Tennessee, Alabama. Let's start with you, Conrad. What do you say? I know all week long you've been proclaiming an Alabama dominating victory against Tennessee.
Don't think I've been saying that one. No, I mean, look, anybody that's a fan of any team, you kind of just have these feelings about your team. It doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just how I feel about it. And I think that I just look at, am I more confident that Alabama's going to do enough on defense to hold Tennessee to their offensive output from the past couple weeks? Or do I feel more confident that Nico's going to figure it out against Alabama? And I'm more confident in Alabama's defense. I know they haven't been great. I'm not expecting them to be lights out. But if you're telling me that Nico, in the biggest game of his career so far at home, the rivalry, the pressure, all of that stuff, I think it ultimately weighs on him. And I like Alabama to win. And I think it's going to be close, though.
All right, D.
Third downs. Just watch the conversions on both teams on third down. I think it's going to be a competitive matchup. But I do think Tennessee wins.
Okay. I like Tennessee to cover, Alabama to win in one of those legendary games between these two teams. 31-30 Alabama. Going to be a close one. We appreciate everybody tuning in this week. It should be a really, really fun Reaction Monday. Of course, Damien and Conrad will get it all kicked off at 6 a.m. Monday morning. Thanks for tuning in. The Paul Feinbaum Show is next.